more steps toward unifying your Battlegrounds experience, destructible terrain on Tago, and a new way to hide your vehicles. All this and more as we dive into the Update 35.2 patch report. First up, we're continuing to work toward unifying your Battlegrounds experience. This update adds vending machines, previously a Miramar exclusive, to Erangel and Tago. You can also keep an eye out for medical vending machines that distribute first aid kits, bandages, and med kits. All these machines still have their chance at a jackpot, so test your luck when you run into one. In addition to this, Erangel is also getting Tago's destructible pots. Breaking these has a chance to give boosts, healing items, throwables, and even secret room keys. So embrace your inner Link and smash away. And speaking of destroying stuff, destructible terrain and the red zone have made their way to Tago. As before, explosives and the Panzerfaust will alter the terrain they hit, adding a bit more realism to that big cool explosion. We've also added the pickaxe to the map for those who'd rather dig their trench a little more discreetly. For now, destruction on Tago will only affect terrain, so don't worry about the building you're in caving down on top of it. And on the topic of discreetness, you can now find vehicle camo netting on Erangel and Miramar. Deploying the camo netting to your vehicle will help it to blend in with the terrain around it, making it harder for enemies to see while obscuring tire positions. We've also toned down C4 a little by making it a deployable weapon that requires 4 seconds to set. This adds a little more risk to the reward instead of it being used as a nuclear grenade. There's also a new Survivor Pass, enhancements made to the inflatable boat, some improvements to the flare gun's UX, and lots more info about everything else we talked about. So be sure to check out the patch notes for full details. Update 35.2 is here. So pack your favorite explosives and get ready for a little light terraforming on Tago. Just make sure you hide your getaway vehicle from the other survivors. We'll see you on the Battlegrounds.
Ni hao, I'm Tiger and Lilik.
No, Lilik. Welcome back, everyone, to the PUBG Players Cup, and I think the best way to kick off tonight will be to wish a massive congratulations to BB Team on being the new PGS 8 champions. It was an incredible event for them. Falcons brought it all the way down to the wire in that last map, but just couldn't get it over the line in the Final Four. So congratulations to BB Team, and honestly, Chunks, I think that you would have known, but when you consider what happened that team, I think it was at PGC a couple of years ago, and all the trials and tribulations they've been through to now finally taste success at the international level, couldn't be happier for them.
Absolutely, really impressive performance from them. Amazing way to seal off PGS. And, well, that's not the end of competitive PUBG for the weekend. We still have the Players Cup here tonight. We're going to see which top 8 teams qualify through to the Super Cup. This is the format. Teams will go through player scrims, their best of 3 series throughout the week. They earn points, which then qualify them for the Players Cup, which can then, if they make it to the top 8, get them through to the Super Cup or the Masters. In this case, it's going to be a Super Cup, which is a best of 12 format. And obviously, we've got the cash prizes throughout the entire series of the Players Cup and the Super Cup. This weekend, though, it's the Players Cup. It's a best of 8. We're starting out on Miramar, wrapping up on Erangel, keeping things snappy, Gibson.
Yeah, 4 maps tonight, so it literally is blink and you miss it. We've just got 4 games, and it is done. The first Players Cup will be over and done with. The winners, of course, will take home a $400 prize, or top prize, but don't fear. That's not all the money that's up for grabs. This is just a cup. This is essentially a qualifier event for the Super Cups or the Master Cups, where the prize pool increases significantly from those points on. But like you said, Chunks, anybody can take part. Those scrims that we spoke about will be happening 4 times next week. Exclamation mark register to get involved and take part. You don't need to play in all 4. You only need to play in the ones that you're available for, and hopefully you pick up enough points. Speaking of points, Chunks, we've got the leaderboard. Talk us through the lay of the land after day 1.
So, top end of the leaderboard is sponging up everything right now, all the way down to 5th place. I mean, you could even count down to 7th. They've all got the majority of the points in the lobby. The drop off, it really isn't significant. That's just a 1 good win, and you've been able to close that gap, even taking into account the points that the other squads are going to be able to grab. Anyone down in the bottom half with a strong performance in game number 1, they get themselves into the top 8, and more importantly, that qualification spot for the Super Cup. It's really a question of who's going to be sponging up those points at the top end of things. We've seen Liquid, Mira, Alcudzia, In Check, all just farming damage, and I mean, look at the stats. It really shows why they're able to earn so many points.
Yeah, Mira team in particular with 33 kills leading the way, and Jeke team, though, not too far away in all the stats. It's the familiar faces that we're seeing in the top 5s in every single row. The new look 55 Esports have been pretty impressive as well, picking up the old Typhon roster. They'll be looking to do bits with that team. But I think the big thing, as we look at the individual stats, like Relo with a big event so far, you know, that KD in 9.5 is incredible. But the big thing for me is bringing in new teams. We're seeing new teams like Let's Be, Zanganos, you know, you've got Team Queso Cheddar, not to be confused with Team Queso that we've had in the past as well. We're getting new teams coming in, they're getting involved, they're having fun, and not only that, we're seeing some fans for these new teams and players. That might be family, that might be friends, watching, tuning in to see how they do. That's what esports and PUBG and esports in general is all about.
Absolutely, and remember, if you do want to join in, make sure you do !register in chat. Get yourself signed up for those players scrims. They are open at the moment. You can qualify for the for the Players Cup next weekend, and ultimately not only get yourself some cash out of the Players Cup, but qualify for that Super Cup. That is where the big money starts to lie. The Super Cups and the Masters, if you can make it through, you're going to be eating well.
You'll be eating very well indeed, and if I'm not wrong, the first Super Cup, or the next Super Cup, will be at the end of this month, and as you said, the Players Cup will be next weekend. But game number 1 is just beginning. We're going to Miramar to kick things off, a flight path from 11, making its way down to around 4, a northwest to southeast flight path, just touching on the edge of Cantera on the way past. But Chunks, I'll be looking to see if there's any hot drops in this flight path, or if we have any early points of contention, because, being honest, been very civil in the opening, opening 2 to 3 minutes of the game so far this event. I think Rondo is the only one that I can really think of that had some proper early game fights.
I'm trying to remember whether it was Tago maybe that we saw Alcudia. I think it was, I want to say
Tago,
Cowboy, taking down a couple of players from an opposing team on the hot drop. Didn't end up pulling it out in the end, but still impressive individual plays. Unfortunately, when you don't have those teammates to back you up, there's always going to be a risk that you go down. And if they're far enough away, you're not going to be getting picked up either. It looks like we might actually have a hot drop for vehicles over on the west, as 55 Esports have a really aggressive split going on between San Martin and Power Grid.
Yeah, you've got Kerak. He's going to land over, secure that little desert, little compound all to himself. Like, I'm surprised at how open it is. A little bit further away, you can see shots being fired over towards the real hunters as they're being chased down by Trabaderos. And, oh, this could be trouble. Oh, no weapon. That's the thing. You drop early, you don't have a gun, you turn tail, you get out of there. And that shift, Chunks, it's pretty much center of the map. You probably couldn't get a more central circle if you really tried.
No, I mean, it's going to look really good for a team like 55 here. Also, Liquid, they're going to have high priority getting into this. I wouldn't be surprised to see one of those squads try and take the high ground around Power Grid. I've seen a couple of circles end over to the west of it, but I think also over to the east, kind of towards Hacienda, those big open fields just over to the east, southeast of Hacienda, is where we've seen a lot of things kicking off, and a couple of circles end there. Some really messy ones as well. And just a reminder, make sure you do exclamation point map in the chat. Pull up that map screen on a second monitor if you have one. It really adds a lot to the game, especially if you're trying to improve, you want to work on your rotations. You can see how the pros do it.
That's exactly the point I was going to make, so you stole it from my lips to kick things off. But Chunks is right. If you've got a spare screen, get the map up, get an idea of how all these teams rotate in, see if you can predict some of these fights that are going to kick off the way that we try to do on the cast, and just look for general observations as to how the best of the best play. Punage almost catches out D with the M249. No scope on it, going in with iron sights, and 26 rounds left to go. But if you give D an inch, he'll take a mile, and I think that he needs a little bit of help. But here comes Wookie Bookie on the flank. He's going to come around the other side. They see D as a really easy point for the taking.
Yeah, Empire just completely surrounded D. We see Balefrost, Shinboy also sends it in. Shinboy yeets over the ridgeline, trying to close the distance. D, though, has the nade in hand, has a read on where Wookie Bookie's going to be. Gets ready to throw it out, but is going to be a little bit short for the time being. Frag grenade about to be returned onto D's position. Goes to the downstairs as Punage now has made a push, but look at this. Rello, he's snuck in behind Punage. He's got the high ground. He could go for the third party. D takes down one. Wookie Bookie to fall to Rello. D tried his best to make a final stand, but he's completely surrounded. Shinboy's got the shotgun, but he doesn't need it when Balefrost lands that.
Yeah, but that's going to force the rest of Alcudia to push, because there's 2 members of Empire down, and with that, you can't just let them get away with it. D has put in all the hard work. Even though his game is up, his team can get some results off the back, but Rello still looking up from on high. He'll get the shots, or at least attempt to, onto Shinboy whenever he eventually goes for that res, and Cowboy and Roth are also in the position as well. Punage still down, nobody over by Wookie Bookie just yet, and here is the send from Shinboy, who's going to attempt to push into the building to get that res onto Punage. But I think because of the terrain, Rello just doesn't want to move away from this Overwatch position.
No, and I mean, I don't blame him. Look at the rest of Alcudia. They've flanked around as well. They're trying to catch some angles on this. It's going to be difficult at this kind of range if they don't have a long-range weapon, but look at that from Cowboy. Beautiful little angle with the M249. Now the position has been given away, but it's for Shinboy off the res. That's allowed Roth to get the flush and Rello to get a second knock to go with it. Shinboy down. Only going to be Balefrost left standing here in a tricky position. Really not much chance of getting the revives.
Yeah, this is really good from Alcudia, and I think at this point, if you're Balefrost, you've got to do your best cowboy impression. Mira kicking off their night as Fana will get a kill for himself, picking up that point as the rich continue to get richer here. But for Alcudia, they're playing this so like you look at Roth's position. He needs to wrap. He's going to get in the vehicle and move once more. Cowboy still going from building to building and going to clear everything out. But yeah, there's one player left alive. Like, Bale has to pull off a mini miracle.
Yeah, Alcudia, it looked for a second like they maybe didn't know exactly where Bale was going to be, but as soon as he jumped through that window, it gave the read over to Cowboys looking up the hillside, trying to find a knock, but Roth is prepared with the grenade. He's going to throw it through that doorway. It looks like it's going to land dead on the money. No, it's a little bit far, actually. Throws down the smoke for a little bit of cover, tries to close it in. As he makes the push, Balefrost hits a spray, manages to land a couple bullets, lands a couple more, takes down Roth, almost eliminating Cowboy. I don't know what's going on with his scope, but he's had to switch over to the Mark 12 anyway.
Yeah, 11 HP, and he's going to move on over. But Cowboy, as soon as he turns his back, will get that kill. Roth will be back on his feet, but Alcudia 4 points on the board for them. And that's exactly what we spoke about. You'll take a one-player trade if you'll get up the full squad kill.
Yeah, really impressive right there from Alcudia to take that fight relatively cleanly. Mirror, they are starting to stack up kills already. We know that they love to take the early game fights, carry that momentum through, and it looks like they're going to confirm themselves 2 points early on.
Yeah, Team Mira getting points on the board. As we said, the rich keep getting richer. The teams at the top are kicking off their night the way that they want to. Kurt, he's in that ridge line just below where Kerak is playing for 55. He dropped in this area and moves up to that position nice and early, and here comes the drive-by attempt. Raul is the target. Fana's not going to land any shots, but don't be surprised if he rocks up on this building and takes on the gunfight, because as we said, Mira are just playing with house money at this point.
Look at this from LFP. He's already spotted out the angle, gets the frag grenade ready. Looks like it's going to land close to Rao. Those shots will do the majority of the damage, but the nade isn't able to finish off the job. Fana fakes and also closing in as Kawazin gets ready to push onto the backside of this warehouse. Rao pops up, but he can't finish the job quick enough. Down he goes to LFP as he's able to get the knock. The rest of Mirror now closing in, finishing off the real hunters, and the hunters have become the hunted.
4 points on the board for Mira now as they've really got things up and running, and it's just clean. You know, they're doing things the right way. They're picking up kills when they can. You can play hyper-aggressive whenever you've got the point tally that they have, and it allows you to practice a new play style. But Chunks, the big thing for me is winning that gunfight has given them complete control and their pick of everything west of Power Grid, which is very close to the center of the circle. They have got what they can take whatever they want from here.
Yeah, I'm really surprised to see that Power Grid is even free in a circle like this, but I guess with the way that 55 dropped, they want to try and make the most out of the high ground. They've fanned out over onto the hillside east of Power Grid, so they're going to be able to look down now. Now, one thing Liquid do a lot in these circles is they move out of Picardo and they try and play that valley, just as we're seeing Purdy Curdy in this position now. They try and play the compounds around there. I think 55 are going to be aware of this, and they're trying to get those kills, because we have spoken a bunch about how teams like Liquid have been sponging up so many points.
It's what they're good at, right? You know, teams at the top, they're at the top for a reason. They can steal points. They realize whenever they've got the upper hand, they make the right decisions at the right points and time. And I think for Kurt, he's just scouting, right? He's feeding the information to Alo and Sparking. This is exactly where Kerak is. Kerak has no clue, or at least we think he's no clue that Kurt's below him, although Kurt's not necessarily a clear and present danger to him at this point in time. But he can just feed that information. And as I say, that Psycho for 55, he gets a knock and flush on the Sparking. That's free. That is really clean for 55. And if you're Sparking, you're going to be really annoyed at that one.
Yeah, they've got to be careful as well, though, 55. They're focusing a lot of attention down this hillside, but Let's Be and Mirror are both going to be moving in over to their west now. They do have Karax holding a little bit further down to the south, so we should be able to hear some audio cues when those vehicles make a move. But the question becomes, how do 55 fill onto this to support that player if he does get caught out on his own? Right now, though, it's just a case of making some noise, taking some shots, keeping heads down, and waiting to see where that circle pops. I imagine if it moves over to the west, they start to consolidate, maybe on Power Grid.
Yeah, well, that, as you said, Power Grid is completely vacant. Mira will move up to the shanty town overlooking it, but that shift goes hard back towards Cantera, and all of a sudden, Forever look in a great position. They've got a 3-1 split. Nubsky might do well, but here we have some action in the middle of the field as Njeke team are going to fire off some shots, chasing down the other member of Forever as he looks to join the rest of his team. Panadorito, he's going to be spun on out here. Looks like he went and got himself a crate weapon. And well, as always, you stick your hand in the cookie jar. Sometimes it's going to get stuck. And for Forever, they'll lose one to Njeke team. Another one of our top teams in the lobby picking up some points in the early phases of the game.
So now Nubsky going to be playing that point position for Forever. It's going to be interesting to see how they decide to play off of this, whether they do want to group up, whether that's to the north or further down to the south. Njeke, though, in a really strong position going forward, one of those positions that I highly doubt will get pushed. Alcudia, they're probably going to be happy with those ridges on to the northeast towards the crater, so they can get the high ground. They have decent ridges to work out of. They don't have to worry too much, and the good thing about that crater is it does provide some vehicle cover. Maybe spoke too soon though, as it looks like they're still moving towards that position that AMG are holding.
Yeah, and now Let's Be, they're in a lot of trouble here as well, as that's Jedshot, who's had some great opportunity moments yesterday. We saw some clean headshots from him, one in particular with the Dragonov earlier on. And you and I, we thought the kill had come from somewhere else. We got super excited thinking it was like a little jiggle peek one tap, but no, it was Jed on the opposite side. But let's see if Jed can do something from the position he's at. Nubsky, he's out in the open. Forever have lost one. We saw Nubsky firing bullets a little bit earlier, so I think that's what Roth is looking for, or who Roth is looking for at this point in time. But for Nubsky, just keep your head down. Don't give away your position unless you know you can get a knock and a flush before you get knocked on the other side.
Taking a look over at the map for the time being while this one slows down, it looks like Liquid may have another rotate that Kurt needs to be worried about. They still have 55 who have split off. They've gone very central with Karax in this position. It's actually going to be Kawazine landing a really long-range spray. He can't convert it over to a knock, but catches a little bit of damage as Mira looking to get aggressive onto this Impicado. This isn't a position they really want to be playing in the late game, I imagine, unless they get a load of hard shifts over to the west. I think they're already starting to plan their next move and who they're going to push, which ultimately, looking at the minimap, is probably going to be the rest of 55 Esports.
And you can see they're keeping the vehicles on the south, the west side of Picado as well, so they can get out of there if it needs be. You don't want to be in the center of the city, particularly in a circle like this. Kerak for 55, still playing on top of the ridgeline with Kurt not too far away. Remember, Liquid did lose one to 55 earlier on as Team KC. This is Team Queso Cheese, as I said, not to be confused with Team Quesito. Ooh, Chunks, if I'm not wrong, they've been picked up. An org has picked them up. An org that'll be pretty big esport org in other games has picked up Team Quesito, and we can only wish them the best of the luck with that move.
Yeah, we'll have to see whether we see them back under that new banner in the Players Tour. But what we need to see more imminently is where that circle is going to shift. As down on the southern side, we're actually seeing OMG trying to make a rotation, taking a lot of fire over to their east. The circle moves over to the east. Alcudia now looking in a really strong position. And again, Team Mirror, they're going to be the ones I'm focusing on. How do they approach this with two teams ahead of them? There isn't really much cover to play out of in this circle. A lot of ridge lines to work with. But we're hopping on board with Zangs as JMS has got himself an opening knock.
Yeah, Zanganos, JMS will be able to throw the nade down, should be able to flush that one out, but he's got Raygot not too far away, but he's going to get shot from behind, and that is bad Kevin for Forever, who's got the off angle, and that puts a thorn in the sides of Zanganos, and maybe from this point they'll need to reconsolidate. With that sandstorm coming in, it buys them a little bit of cover, which might just give them the opportunity to get that res off, but they still have to focus on the fight with MDA that's currently going on inside this section of the map. And there, that res will be pulled off by Sequencia. And, well, we spoke about Kurt. We spoke about how he was sitting there for so long. The patience pays off, and he does get the kill onto Kerak.
Yep, needs to try and group up with the rest of his team. They've got hard cover that's just about inside this compound, but again, that valley on the eastern side is quite open, so they're going to be looking and seeing where they move next. But right now, Effort's looking straight towards Dark Zito, lands the spray with one of the final bullets, finishes off the job, throws up that Molotov to try and flush it out, but right now he just needs to focus on the rest of MDA. I believe only one player left standing for them, but look at this, Foradoras are also starting to move in now.
Yeah, Foradora is deciding they see the opportunity to pick up some points, but will stick on board with this 55 CLT fight. Traballaderos are there. Druida took a lot of damage on that fight, but Psycho, he's going to toss the stun, but you got to be careful. The Groza in the hands of Druida could be a problem. Tony gets the angle on the side, Chunks, but still none of these players falling in this fight.
55 being so cautious about approaching this one, trying to surround their opponents, but they just don't have enough info. The nade lands close, but Samcro able to get over to cover, will spot the player out in the open, also spots one crossing, takes down Dugson as now solo Droider behind the hay bales, getting ready to peek out. He's already taken out Tony, but that Groza, it is so powerful. He's facing the wrong way. Psycho finishes off the job, not before taking damage though from Mag on the other side. He sticks the res for the time being. That player advantage is going to be so important as Psycho, he only cares about getting the kills right now. Flushes out. That's 3 points on the board for 55 Esports, and now looking like he wants to commit to the fight before reviving, maybe rethinking that.
Yeah, look, he picks up points. He's realized that with the player being down, with the information he has, he can get that flush, and now he knows Psycho will be going for the res. That buys him the opportunity to get Doug back on his feet. But here come OMG. They want a third party, but they've got to be careful because, as you can see, shots are coming in from afar, which will do some damage onto them. But as it stands, this is a really, really bad position for 55 and this team, and OMG really rocking them into this. This is all outside the circle, Chunks. This is both, you know, whichever team wins this fight is going to be in a rough spot going into that next zone.
Yeah, made it even rougher by the fact you got a team like Mirror just up to the north there, sponging out a kill onto OMG as Samcro manages to get a knock with the Panzer, throws out the frag grenade, trying to clear out that room. Not going to be able to just yet as the BZ nade pops. He opens the door, finishes off the job, and down they go in 14th position. 55 with 5 kill points on the board, but only 2 players left up. Maybe going to try and land a spray onto OMG, but focused on looting for the time being.
Yeah, get that level 3 gear, pick up the Groza that got the knock onto your teammate a little bit earlier, but Mira will be looking over that ridgeline. They see the chance for some points. They also spot out Let's Go as Infinite Void will hit that Panzer onto Ray, which will get that rush there for Kawazine and Faxon. That's an easy point pick up there, but Kurt from Team Liquid will get that knock onto Kawazine, and look at how quickly they were up on board with that res.
Team Mirror 6 kills on the board as Kurt tries to get his second. Miguel Fox goes down. Luke 12 takes down 9 as well. Fana doing what they can to try and third party, but it's too little too late because Liquid, they've just finished off Let's Be. Halo does the job, gets them onto 4 kills. They lost Sparking earlier on, but that has not slowed them down by any means. They've got some decent ridges to work out of. They do need to be cautious of the southern side. I imagine Mirror are probably going to try and take that high ground soon enough.
Good thing about this one, though, for those teams that are at the top, they're all picking up points as things stand. Even though the teams that have lost a player are not going down easy. Big nade from MHP, by the way. Gets himself a double onto Storm onto Zanganos as they move from this position. You can see the kill feed is lighting up as all these teams on the edge of the circle are just doing damage to each other. A second nade, though, will confirm out that flush. And that's another team. Foradora is up to 4 kills now. And by no means done just yet, Chunks, as they sit inside a church.
Absolutely not. I find it really interesting the fact that I think probably like 7 or 8 of the teams were in 2 separate fights, just absolutely clustered together. They have started to clear themselves up right now as Team Queso Cheddar are flexing out down to the south, ready to sponge up whoever gets out of that compound. Nubsky tries to finish off 55 Esports, but not to be the case. It's Rello who takes down Psycho, gets the knock before Samcro finishes off Nubsky. Psycho going to be stuck inside of this smoke right now. It's the only form of cover he's got, and Al Kudzir are just putting in work all over the place.
Yeah, you get a knock onto 55, but then you turn your attention a little further north as Roth will get the kill onto Team Queso Cheese. Sam will use the smoke now to get a res of his own, but I'm surprised we're not getting more damage being dealt inside the smoke to try to blow up that vehicle to maybe pick up that kill, but maybe they think the chance to get it is a little too late. Forever. Chunks, what is it about Forever, though, and having great positions in like late game circles? I'm talking phase 5, phase 6, phase 7. Constantly they find themselves in these great positions, but they're not really capitalizing off the back of it.
No, it's difficult, especially when you losing players early. Look, forever, they're down to just a two-man right now. They've barely been able to survive these fights. Sure, they finished off the job, but when you're weakened, it's hard to make anything out of it. Sure, they have the compound, but can they actually get kills going forward? It's going to be a difficult one, and only time will tell. But I'll tell you what, Mira, they're going to keep getting kills. Look at this, taking down Furhopper. That's going to take them to 8 overall if they can finish off the job, which, of course, Kawazine is able to do. Fakeson now focusing on the rest of the OMG players in the vehicle. They are taking a lot of damage. 1 or 2 more bullets are going to be enough to get the knocks, but it's in check that come in with the third party, keeping the heads down. Kawazine with a huge spray takes down Pains, and the vehicle blows up. Down go OMG, and now it's just in check in their sights.
Yeah, 9 teams left as the placement point window has almost opened. MHP gets caught out by Stitch, and that placement window is now open. That's Team Queso Cheddar picking up that kill. Liquid now with 4. They've got a good position on the west side of the circle, but Team Mira are not too far away. They're a little further south, but they've got an elevated position, and they're looking directly towards Liquid. And I'm looking at it, Chunks. Liquid's the only real team they need to worry about as things stand, because Njeke team, they're way off on the opposite side. You can keep an eye on them. They're likely not going to push over this ridgeline because of the position they find themselves in. And all in all, oh my, Kurtz will just decapitate LFP.
High ground's all good until there's someone behind you. Then you're just a wide open target. Nicely done from Kurt to find that headshot as Cowboy looks to find one of his own. Stitch spins out in the vehicle, but Cowboy running out of ammo, not going to be able to capitalize. Spoke too soon, cleans up Team Queso Cheddar out in 8th place. 7 kills now on the board for Alcutia. We keep speaking about these top teams sponging up all the points, and that is reigning true in this match.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Njeke team will get a knock as these top teams begin turning their attention to each other. Andrew will find Cowboy, but might struggle to get that flush. Fakeson peeking up over that ridgeline does a ton of damage onto Vinny, but Vinny, the vest is cracked. The helmet is not too far away as well. But Fakeson, you're standing wide in the open, but a 4x spray from Vinny will not hit the target the way he would want. And now Kawazine will throw a nade back the other way. The perfect rebuttal, potentially. And that's RNZ trying to make a play, but Kawazine read it perfectly. But look at the MG3 wrapping around the side, and that thing can really rip a team to shreds in the blink of an eye.
And the fact that you don't even need to reload it to wipe a squad can do a lot of damage. Kawazine, though, he spotted it out, takes some shots over towards Selfish. They don't connect as the flashbang comes through from Vinny. Will catch Kawazine, takes him out of the fight for a moment more, following through. Mirror doing everything they can with this ridgeline, but in check right now, have the player advantage. Kawazine says that doesn't matter because I'm going to take you down low anyway. Selfish trying his best to hold this angle, but he just can't find any sight onto Team Mirror. And Team Mirror, they just find the damage with the frag grenade. Selfish pops up, he can't land the shots, and he just gets absolutely lit up. Flashbangs to follow as Mirror close in closer and closer. Molotov's coming through, catches Selfish on fire. He's going to fall down to Fakeson in the end, and then there was one. Only Andrew now standing for in check as he tries to get the revive.
Yeah, RNZ is back on his feet now as well, though, as it's back to 2 players for Njeke team, but Mira are looking to deal with them now. They're behind the Bronco. You're going to have a very good idea of the position that they're playing. The question now is, how do you deal with them? Because while all this was going on, Liquid have crept their way into the circle. Look, 12 the front of that one, as we will lose 55 Esports. Alcudia getting their 8th kill of the game. Cowboy his 4th, and in doing so, they free up a lot of real estate on this eastern side.
Liquid quickly taking real estate down to the south, though. They've taken the vehicle rotation. Now they're starting to take some shots over towards Team Mirror. You got to think, Team Mirror, they've just been able to attack this position, so can Liquid mimic their success? 11 kills on the board, though, for Mirror. They are on an absolute tear. No real surprise for them. They have a habit of doing this. They open up strong. It's a question of, can they keep it going? Can they finish out the game in what is ultimately a very difficult position? 2 teams to try and navigate. Andrew spotted out Fakeson up on the cover. He's only able to pop a tire in the end. No util left from Team Mirror, and that leads to Kawazine falling, but Fakeson gets a knock of his own. RNZ gets the flush. He's the final player left up for in check.
Yeah, and now as this goes on, Liquid are getting closer and closer. The nade from Kurt will steal a point away from Mira, and Alo will steal their spot in the lobby as well. Down they fall. Mira fall in 6th, but they got a ton of points to go with it. Now Liquid can focus on RNZ. Remember, 55 got the kill on the Sparking in the first few minutes of the game, but they're still going strong. They've outlived 55, and now they've outlived 11 other teams. It's a top 4. It's a 3v2, v2v2. They're going to try to get the res, but Zanganos, wide split chunks. Very has gone off on a solo waddle all by himself to the south side of the circle. Sequencia is way up to the north looking at Forever. Are Zangano's going to be a sting in the tail here for Team Liquid?
Certainly could be. It looks like Luke 12 has been spotted out. So's Alo as Liquid now try and move back. Alo going to get caught with the 4x spray. Zanganos get themselves a 4th kill point on the board now, making them their way into the top 4. There's only 2 players standing for each team, but Zanganos is so split. They're going to lose Sequencia. Cowboy takes down Kevin. He's going to try and flush that out. Viri gets a 5th kill point on the board, flushing out Kevin. Luke 12, he's been spotted out as well. That's a huge play and a huge knock to go with it. Only Purdy Curdy left up here for Team Liquid as Viri gets ready to close the distance, throws in the Molotov, wants to try and confirm the knock. Doesn't look like it's going to connect, but he's still got 1 player to try and navigate, and I don't think he knows exactly where Kurt is.
No, Kurt's throwing Nate, Stolen Smokes back the other way, trying to give Luke some cover to go for the res, but Very here from Zanganos is putting in the work. Kurt with the Christmas hat. The helmet is basically busted. The vest is the same, but Very, well, it was very Vici here for him as he picked up a bunch of kills elsewhere. Luke will get back on his feet, but he will fall back into the cover of the hill to move a little further away. Slump for Forever will get a knock onto Roth as well, as it's a 2v1v1. Now Cowboy is out in the open, but Slump can't quite get the angle, but Liquid really need to capitalize on this. 2 players back on their feet. Let's see if Very can hit another big nade.
The ridgeline that they were just holding was absolutely massive. It's not one that I was aware of, but they clearly know the map better than I do, playing it to perfection. They've managed to keep that player up. Alcudzia not going to have the same fate. Roth is just too far away. Cowboy is dialed in to that final player from Forever. Will be able to spot him, but he just can't find the shots. Trying his best to find a headshot. Liquid now going to look to start moving down this hillside. They still need to be cautious of the solo. They've got a little bit of deployable cover, so they should be able to work a bit further down, but until they get an angle on Cowboy, they're going to be very hesitant about this push, and if Cowboy turns around at the right time, it could mean the end for Liquid. Slump on such low ammo to try and seal this one out, but right now it's just a case of keeping his head down, not getting caught out, and allowing Cowboy to open up onto Kurt.
That's another knock sustained by Team Liquid, so it's back to a 1 versus 1 versus 1 versus 1. Every single team has been in the wars as things stand. Cowboy spotted the head of Luke for just a second, and making sure that Slump doesn't rock up on this position as well, but Very could potentially do something again. He's out in the open. Cowboy finds Luke, does a ton of damage, as does Luke's nade in return. Very out in the open. Slump can't hit any of these shots that he's firing up onto this ridgeline, and Very will move once more. Maybe Luke 12 comes this way. Cowboy will get his kill as it's another for Alcudzia, and here does come Luke. He's looking for Very. He's checking inside the shack. Look, he's not there. He's a little further away. But the more noise you make, the more of a chance you give for Very to pick up these kills.
I think he spotted out the movement from Luke 12 when he went into that shack, but right now he's deciding not to push. The BZ nade goes down. Will Luke decide to push through this position, or does he go straight down the hillside? It looks like he wants to clear. He knows there's a solo over here, but he just doesn't know where. If he isn't careful, it's very likely that Very could pop up, and that's exactly what happens. Luke 12 not able to get the opening shots. Flashbang comes through, but he's still got a ridgeline for cover for the time being. Now is the time for Very to start making a push. The flashbang, the final one, just a little bit too far. Headshot found from Luke 12. Makes him his way into the top 3 for Team Liquid. Gonna quickly loot up, grabs a load of util, got a lot of smokes, BZ needs to work with, but nothing lethal. That's something that Cowboy sure has, and he's got a lot of kills to back him up.
Yeah, look, Slump knows exactly where Cowboy is. He can see him, but he's keeping an eye on where Luke is too. He's hoping that Cowboy and Luke will be able to fight with each other first, and then Slump can maybe rise to victory. But remember, Cowboy also knows exactly where the last player for Forever is. There's 3 players up. The center of the circle is controlled by Cowboy. He's going to smoke off Luke 12 on the other side and keep an eye on what Slump's next move is, because he's the closest to the blue.
Cowboy just playing that ridge, trying to gather some info. He's got the smoke off to his left, making sure Luke isn't going to be able to make anything happen out of this. Slump has a read on where Cowboy's going to be, though. He's prepping the frag grenade. It seems like it could be close, but not close enough. Cowboy throws down a shield, working with that little bit of extra cover, but when that smoke dissipates, his position will be given away. Slump opens up with the spray. Cowboy with the high ground, lands one. He can't convert it over just yet. Flashbang going to follow through. This could be Luke's opportunity to pounce, and Cowboy, he just misses the shots, follows it up with a headshot, but it's Luke 12 that finishes off the job. Flashbang coming up onto Luke's position as Cowboy needs to get a med in. He should be able to pop it if he even has any at this point.
Yeah, Luke 12 moves Cowboy.
More steps toward unifying your Battlegrounds experience. Destructible terrain on Tago. and a new way to hide your vehicles. All this and more as we dive into the Update 35.2 patch report. First up, we're continuing to work toward unifying your Battlegrounds experience. This update adds vending machines, previously a Miramar exclusive, to Erangel and Tago. You can also keep an eye out for medical vending machines that distribute first aid kits, bandages, and med kits. All these machines still have their chance at a jackpot, so test your luck when you run into one. In addition to this, Erangel is also getting Tago's destructible pots. Breaking these has a chance to give boosts, healing items, throwables, and even secret room keys. So embrace your inner Link and smash away. And speaking of destroying stuff, destructible terrain and the red zone have made their way to Tago. As before, explosives and the Panzerfaust will alter the terrain they hit, adding a bit more realism to that big, cool explosion. We've also added the pickaxe to the map for those who'd rather dig their trench a little more discreetly. For now, destruction on Tago will only affect terrain, so don't worry about the building you're in caving down on top of it. And on the topic of discreetness, you can now find vehicle camo netting on Erangel and Miramar. Deploying the camo netting to your vehicle will help it to blend in with the terrain around it, making it harder for enemies to see while obscuring tire positions. We've also toned down C4 a little by making it a deployable weapon that requires 4 seconds to set. This adds a little more risk to the reward instead of it being used as a nuclear grenade. There's also a new Survivor Pass, enhancements made to the inflatable boat, some improvements to the flare gun's UX, and lots more info about everything else we talked about. So be sure to check out the patch notes for full details. Update 35.2 is here. So pack your favorite explosives and get ready for a little light terraforming on Tago. Just make sure you hide your getaway vehicle from the other survivors. We'll see you on the battlegrounds.
Welcome back to the PUBG Players Cup, where Al Qudsiya took the first game of the night. And yes, we did get disconnected for a little while. It was only to build suspense. We wanted to see what it was like without us, and I know that you all hated it without us. So you wanted us back, Chunks, and that's why we're here.
Yeah, next time someone complains about our casting, we can just say, look, chat wasn't happy when we went quiet. So, yeah, it was really impressive from Al Qudsiya to be able to get that win. We actually went and looked at the leaderboards and, like, the breakdown of all the games. That's back-to-back-to-back wins for Al Qudsiya now, 3 in a row. But let's go and look at the leaderboard for that game. 20 points for Al Qudsiya. Liquid managing to gain second place with 11 kills. That gets them 17 points. And shocker, the top 3 is Al Qudsiya, Liquid, and Mirror. Nothing out of the ordinary there.
Yeah, they picked up tons of points, and then you don't have to look too far behind them to see EMEA team as well. Another one of the sides that has been dominating when it comes to picking up points inside the lobby. 4 teams with a donut, and it is teams that we have seen in that position before. So at this point, it is about just seeing what we can see those teams do going forward for the rest of the weekend. Like, for the likes of May Adam Ciudad, it's probably not going to be a case of them qualifying. You know, yes, it's only 23 points, but it's a long ways to go. For now, it's just about doing good. You know, put some good things on camera, Chunks. Give us something to be happy about. Give yourself something to look back on.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those teams in the bottom half, they were taking a lot of fights. They just weren't able to clean them up as well as they would have wanted to. A lot of the time, it was a case for squad like Mirror, Al Qudsiya, Liquid, in check, all just third-partying on and causing a problem for everyone. That's why they were able to keep stacking points. I'm really starting to dial in on the top 4 now, though. It looks like that's a relatively secure spot with still 3 games to go, but anything could happen, especially when you've got 55 Esports, Empire Gaming, Forador is not far behind, potentially going to steal some of that prize pool if they have a couple of strong matches.
I think the top 6 are all locked in, to be honest. Like, at this point, 40 points, Empire Gaming, it looks like they're going to be in as well. Forador is a good game here. They'll be in that next Super Cup, and you know what? Power to them, because being real, Forador have improved so much over the course of the last few weeks. Like, to me, the really good teams, you know, your Liquids, your Al Qudsiyas, your Miras, Falcons, whenever they come back, they're not going to improve a lot over the course of a year because they're already at, you know, such a high level. But seeing the other teams that coming in, you know, the first event, they might pick up 5 to 10 points. The second one, it's, you know, 10 to 20. It's seeing the growth of those players that, as a caster, as a fan, excites me. Because those are the players that, you know, as they keep getting better, they keep improving. You never know when an opportunity arises. You know, maybe a team needs a player, or maybe you as a team grow together. You're there and you're ready to go.
Yeah, well, you say you don't expect them to improve that much, but again, these are teams that are used to putting in those reps, figuring out what's wrong with their game. Now that we've moved towards a TPP environment for the majority of the year, teams are going to have the opportunities to play a lot more. They're going to identify things that maybe work well in FPP. And sure, we spoke about it a lot at the beginning of the Players Tour. There was a lot of questions about how a team's going to play things. So far, things have been relatively similar, and we're starting to see a little bit of adaptation in terms of how teams take in those engagements. You see, you know, when we got to the end game there, it was very passive in terms of how they were taking it, being careful not to peak, especially when you're down to just a solo, whereas in FPP you would have to peak to be able to get that info. So I think throughout the year we're going to see the kind of not so much the macro play change, but I think when it comes to the individual fights, individual engagements, that's where we're going to see teams have to start making improvements and working on things, because if you're not actively improving, every other team around you will.
I'm going to ask a question, and I want your genuine answer. Do you think on scrims on a Monday or Tuesday that the likes of Falcons or Liquid or some of these other teams will be standing close to a wall and they'll just push the letter T or whatever the bind is to go to third person and be like, oh yeah, sorry, we can't do that. We're back in FPP now.
I do have to wonder. I'm wondering how teams are going to approach this circle now. But yeah, I think that's an interesting one. Being able to rotate between the two perspectives is going to be a big thing, as Furhopper gets himself a big knock early on, flushes it out. That's a point on the board for OMG. And yeah, I think being able to switch back and forth is something that is going to be difficult for a lot of these teams. I do think back to a while ago when we looked at teams like Gen G, for instance. They were one of the top teams in FPP. They would play TPP for fun and they would absolutely dominate. So I think being able to switch and adapt is a really important thing, especially if you're proactive proactively taking part in multiple different perspectives throughout the course of a year.
Yeah, so I think it'll be worth keeping an eye on. But then again, you have to remember Gen G were insane as well at the game. And,
yeah.
You know, you'd like to hope that we see Gen G really push that improvement button again. But Chunks, this circle, I'm liking the likes of where Let's Be are, as we got that gunfight between OMG. Exus will be up and in around the spot. Fairhopper is down now, but not out quite yet. But Payne is under a lot of pressure here by Foradores.
Just quickly before we fully commit onto this, Team Queso Cheddar, do they bridge camp? We'll have to wait and see. Infinite Void, he's not going to be camping though, pushes straight in towards Payne's, gets himself the knock, flushes it out immediately after, as OMG, they're trying to salvage this one, go for the revive, but it is not looking likely. We spoke about Foradoras going into this game as a team that was massively improved, and when you see them taking fights like this, it is a prime example. They have come into their own so far in the Players Tour. I am so excited to see what they can do going forward.
Yeah, and confidence will grow from this sort of thing as well, and they'll not be as passive in these situations. Fuskitao, he'll get another kill on the board for them as they just look to secure their spot inside the top 8. Infinite Void with the UMP going for the hip fire, but they'll clear this. There's a shotgun at the ready, but you trade one. You don't mind that. You pick up the kill. Now you can go for the res, because to be honest, the last remaining player on the opposite side, J0809, is too far away to do anything about it, and all credit to Foradores. Excellent from them. Yes, they lost a player early, but now there's only one player from OMG left standing.
Look at this on the minimap. You can see Mirror, they're already starting to get proactive on the rotate. Could cause problems for Team Queso Cheddar. Right now, though, we're going to stick with J0809 as he tries to salvage something out of this. Only 1 point on the board for OMG. They really need to start picking more up now. They are in such a difficult position on the leaderboard, but we've seen signs of life. They've been able to get a couple kills in our previous match. Now it's just a case of trying to salvage something, anything out of this game to start closing the gap to the top 8.
Yeah, and I think that it's not out of, it's not out of the realms of possibility for OMG. There's still 2 games left to go tonight, but it will be tough from this position they now find themselves in. J0809 has been brilliant at times, though. He, if you think about players on OMG who've had pop-off moments, he is definitely one of them. Chunks in a 1v3. In this perspective, you get the right tell of information, you spot the right solo player, you can definitely add another point to your tally. But apart from his gun, Chunksy's got nothing. No nades, no smokes, no stuns, and I think he only had 1 first aid as well.
Yeah, but I think sometimes when you're in a solo fight, those things can almost be a distraction. At the end of the day, the most important thing is landing your shots, just like LFP is able to do. Takes down Cali Ramirez, first kill on the board now for Team Mirror, and they are not going to stop hunting. You can see Zhang there sending a player down to the southeast, and a second shortly behind. Wouldn't be surprised to see them try and engage. That's exactly what they do. No, it's actually HVIT who gets himself the knock, nearly runs over for the flush, as Miguel is the one who sponges up the point in the end. Let's Be with 1 kill on the board, but Mirror dead ahead, and they are crashing into this compound.
Yeah, they want the points. They saw the kill feed. They know the other players from this team are a little too far away. And RNZ from Njeke team on the passenger seat of the glider is going to attempt the flyby, but inside Fana, he's got himself an M16. He's got it on burst fire as well. A couple of quick taps will do a ton of damage, but Kawazine will be Johnny on the spot on the drive-by. He catches out 9, and now there's 1 player from LFP joining the rest of the fray. 2 players up. I don't think they're going for the res here, Chunks, but Team Mira are just inevitable at times, and they get the full squad wipe, and it's 5 on the board for them.
5 kills, phase 1, pretty standard for them, but what's not standard is it is in check and moving into position. They're going to try and third party onto this fight, maybe thinking that Team Mirror have taken a lot more damage than they have in reality. They're a little bit split right now, player down to the south, but they're starting to group up on the west of Team Mirror, as Mirror right now just focused on looting up, making sure they have plenty of ammo to take all the fights that they desire.
Yeah, and now the real hunters, they're going to just stay in their position. They don't want to get in any fights. They're on the wrong side of the leaderboard as things stand for Royal. That's not the way you're supposed to park. And Fusky, oh my god, what? He just 180'd him.
That was the bait of the century.
Right. I'm not having that, Chunks. He did not mean to park the car like that, but he certainly meant that 180.
He failed successfully, that's all you can say there. I think it was actually 4D chess. He knew that the angle that the car was at wouldn't be enough to actually find the headshot. Really good play there from Raul. And look, that leaves Foradores as a solo with 3 kills on the board. The real hunters maybe going to hunt for this final player. I think they heard the vehicle. Raul seems to indicate that he maybe knows there is something around from the way he's sweeping, but I'm honestly, I'm not sure whether he had a full read on whether Foradores were as close as they were. So that maybe caught him off guard.
Yeah, and I think now for this position as well, Infinite Void, he's just going to keep an eye on Raul. He saw his teammate fall. Foradores, 3 kills for them. No Chunks, you know, you'd argue it might just be enough. It'll get them very close to that 40-point mark. But for the real hunters, that was excellent in that situation. I think Infinite Void, he's going to play his life up on this position. Circle still closing in. It's about 1 minute and 50 seconds to make that next pop. And maybe Smillwar for North Shot. Well, surely Sparking's not going to have an early exit 2 games in a row. Surely.
He's one of those players where it seems almost regardless of who is the first to fall, it's never really sparking for Team Liquid. He's one of those players where he has a way of staying up to the late game. He tends to win those fights, but he is completely surrounded in this position. Tries to go for the spray onto the vehicle. It works out, thankfully, as one is going to fall now. The rest of the squad getting the nades in position, trying to land them. They're just a little bit wide for the time being, but Sparking is pinned. The rest of Team Liquid starting to flank around. Alo finishes off the kill with the vehicle. Sparking tries to land a long-range spray. Lands a little bit of damage, but not enough to get the knock. Alo in position with the frag grenade. Kurt gets the kill with the AUG instead, though. There's now, yeah, they're just going to run away from this. Liquid 2 kills on the board, feeling good about their position. And by the way, Gibson, we haven't even spoken about this zone yet.
As we said, I don't even want to say anything until we get that next shift. Like, I think it's going to go towards the east. But as always, you can't guess because it is RNG. You can say, oh, I think it's going to go here. And if it doesn't go there, you go, oh, well, you know, it's PUBG, the game randomly. And then if it does go there, you're like, I'm a genius. Chunks, I'm going to wait. I'm going to hold my tongue on what to say about the circle until we get that next pop.
Hard north shift. That's what we need. That would just cause absolute mayhem. I want to see a shipyard endgame. That would be amazing. I also want to see Selfish do something big here. He's got the nade in hand, has a read on where the players are, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to connect just yet. Does take down Viri out in the open in the vehicle. Maybe not realizing there is going to be a second player inside of this compound. So in check, deciding to fall back off of this, and that is a difficult circle, but Liquid going to be very happy with it.
We saw a circle like this way back at PGS. I think it was, I can't remember if it was the start of last year or the end of the year before, where Roth and the rest of the they weren't Al Qudsi at the time, but their SSG roster had to swim their way across the bay. This time, let's see if they make their way over towards the east a little bit earlier. Elsewhere, you're looking at a lot of potential action towards the south of the circle. Team Mira are there, 55 Esports rotating in, Forever are there. And they're all moving towards Liquid, but keep your eye on Infinite Void. Still the last player for Foradores standing, giving away his position now. The real hunters should know this is a solo, and at this point, you got to deal with him, right? This is a free point, and if you don't deal with it too soon, he'll bite you in the back, and there's a chance of you getting third-partied by somebody else a little bit later on. And look at Al Qudsi pulling in now with Cowboy.
All of the teams being forced to play such a small amount of space. Al Qudsi are playing super split, by the way. They're actually sending 2 over to the east by the looks of things, as Rello is going to be making a cross down there. Cowboy potentially heard by Zhao Lexi, just playing this ridge line, but it's actually going to be I give up. But anyway, this team is going to be taking a fight, losing 2 players early. Nice knocks coming through as Roth actually going to be getting caught out by Poonage on the other side of things. Droidia trying to finish off the job, but is in a bit of a solo position now. Ray pinned down at the tree, needs to hope his teammates able to support. The vehicle is there to cover the revive. The Droidia catches a lot of damage, but he can't convert it over.
Yeah, Druida closing the gap now is up on the other side. You got to drive by Druida. Will hit that kill. Tormented will get the flush onto Shilto as well, as Trabalhadores really find themselves getting the better of MDA. But inside the smoke, Darkseid went for the res. But Dog with a huge nade wipes them out. Meda and Amciedad are eliminated. And those are big points on the board for Trabajaderos.
I need to spend some time with our producers doing some pronunciation lessons for some of these South American teams because I am struggling. But Gibson, you are carrying me through just like Team Liquid are leading the lobby, absolutely carrying their weight through this map. Gonna carry on, hopefully stacking up those points as Infinite Void carried his team on his back. Only player left up now, completely surrounded by Empire.
Yeah, and Chunks, I think you should remind everybody in chat what your surname is, if you don't mind them knowing, because you should be the one with better South American pronunciations than me, right? You really should on the back of his own, but we'll leave that for another day. Shinboy trying to clear Infinite Void, who picked up another kill for Foradores. Cowboy is on the opposite side of the road, keeping an eye on everything that's going on, and the real hunters, they have moved a little further away. But here comes Empire. You send Beal. He's the front line with the Panzer. If he goes down, you don't mind. He's going to take one with him up on the stairs. Infinite Void. Good night.
I love seeing the Panzers used for those sweeps. Nicely done from Bale to finish off the job. But look at this, Real Hunters. They're going to be aware that this fight is kicking off. If that nade was thrown just a little bit earlier, it would have resulted in 2 knocks. And look at this. There's another Panzer in the hands of Empire. That is going to be holding that doorway, surely, as Lorum tries to move up the hillside. Balefrost holding with the Org. Flashbang comes out. That could be the cue to push. But Shinboy, he fires out the Panzer at the other players. He can't convert it over to a knock. Bale certainly can, though. Lorum goes down, and Empire fortifying in this compound, which, by the way, is not even inside this next circle.
Yeah, that nade was always going to get that knock on the Royal as well. The underhand was perfect, and there's another Panzer on the move here. Zanganos losing players as well. They can't afford this. Sitting in 9th place in the lobby going into this matchup with just 2 games left to go. They'll be hoping to at least get a couple more points on their tally, specifically when you see the likes of Foradores getting some more points on board. But look at that, J0809, the solo for OMG, will pick up that point. But still, Beal getting all that information. You've got the rapid, the speedy turtle on the other side of the wall, the Tortuga Veloz here, and Punage, though, he will wrap around. He's got that Panzer, like we said, boom, and down goes another player, and there's just one TRH player standing.
This is a really good game so far from Empire. 5 kills on the board in a good position to move forward. They do need to be cautious of Alcudia, who, by the way, they're down to just a duo now. They've got Cowboy on this side, third party, and finishing off Xiao Lexi, but Rello is all the way on the other side of the river as the circle has headed off to the east. Teams are going to have to try and make a move, just like Liquid need to move their butts to get this revive. And Sequencia, he hasn't moved an inch, and he's still somehow not been caught out.
Why not? Just live your best life and try to get as many points as you can now as a solo for Zanganos. And Cowboy is on the other side of the road. Rello is trying to help him out as Alcudia, currently sitting top of the leaderboard, will look to do a bit more. But I think for Cowboy, he is in a spot of trouble. He can get up, he can get his breath, he can use the boat. The nade is out there. Cowboy, he's jumping in the boat, using that as a platform to take on these shots. But that's a great nade from Druida as he manages to conjure up a bit of magic, a bit of a spell, and takes down Cowboy. And he will be down. Surely there's no way Rello picks up the kills.
I mean, he's certainly going to try. These players are fully exposed right now. If they try and hop in the water to make the cross, he is certainly going to be happy to sponge it out. I imagine they're probably just going to try and cross one player at a time, but that time is becoming more and more limited. Oh, wow. Mortar's landing close now to them. Nearly catching a little bit of damage. I'm not sure exactly who it is that's firing that, but whoever connects is going to be in with a good time if they can manage to convert that over to a knock. Rello doing what he can to try and get one. That's exactly what he does. Doug goes down, and Alcudia starting to pick up some kill points even as a solo.
Yeah, and that's what you gotta do. Solo players picking up points for your team is what you need to do. Sometimes you have to decide whether to take a kill. Other times you gotta decide whether it's best to play or to play your life, stay alive, and try get placement points later on in the game. Rello, though, you know, the bleed for Cowboy is so slow. that there is... Nah, actually,
he needs to
there's no
swim
chance.
across. If he
Yeah,
started
he's not
swimming
going
sooner, he probably could have done, but then he would have ended up getting flushed out regardless. So, I mean, good try from Rello to try and keep his teammate alive, but look at this from Jo809. He's laying prone. I don't think anyone is aware of his position right now.
No, and why not? Like, why would you look here? If you're Rello, you have no reason to look at this section of the map. Psycho and 55, they're on the other side. They've got their hands full. Mira not too far away. I think that is it North Shot that's just a little further away from their position? Remember, if you want to keep an eye on what's going on, chat, ! map, and you can keep an eye on the movements of all your favorite teams. So even if they're not on your screen at this moment in time, you can see exactly where they are on the map and what control they're trying to take.
Should point out, I was joking about a shipyard ending earlier. It's looking more and more likely as Sequencia. Nice knock there onto that Team Mirror player, but Kawazin is moving in from the southeast. Big spray to finish off the job, and Mirror looking to get that player back up into the fight. 7 kills on the board as they make it into the top 10. Alcudia full. It was Rello eliminated, but now Aki is in a very difficult position. He's got himself a shield, got himself some cover, needs to try and peek to get some kills to weaken this team ahead of them, but he peeks a little too late, not able to convert it over. Sabato certainly is, though.
Yeah, the double shield setup from Team Queso Cheddar up on the stairs, working wonders for Team Queso Cheddar. As Aki second. Yeah, I'm going to do it like that because it's Aki 2 times 2, right? That's what I'm just going to do because I'm that guy on the broadcast. Is going to be annoying. We'll have a Panzer at the ready for the next player that moves in. And maybe it could be Gaston that will move in and taste that almighty Panzer. That is a phenomenal lead from Gaston to find that knock, by the way.
Certainly is, as now the Panzer could find another. In the end, though, Sabato will be getting flushed out as Team Liquid popping up in that kill feed. They are able to take down Fanna. The more they weaken Mirror, the stronger their chances become. As Phase 4 almost completely closed in. Droider is still alive. Spoke too soon. He went down to the blue zone. We are now into the top 8, and half of them are all in Shipyard.
Why not? Get yourself in there. If this goes out of that position, which I think it just has, it makes things really tough for all the players involved. This section, you've got Bale Frost, you've got a couple of players from Trabajadores in there. I think that is, actually North Shot, it's Gaston that's in that position. Could all kick off. Slump. Spotted now by Stitch. He's going to step around the corner. Panadorito will try to go for the instant trade. A stun grenade might just be the entry that he needs. But if Molly will be thrown to get the flush. Dragonov, no, you're going to need your ace in this close quarters combat situation. As Stitch will confirm out his kill. Chunks, he's dancing. They're playing a dangerous dance here. Stepping around. Great stun. But oh my god, Stitch wins those. It's the battle of the blind. And one of them, Stitch, will come out on top.
Huge play for Team Queso Cheddar to stay alive in it, but there are so many teams about to cross over onto this position. You got Nubsky still alive from 4, Everest 55 looking primed to make the move. The circle shifted over to the west, just like Mirror is shifting straight in towards Balefrost. He gets the knock onto one. That Molotov could be huge, but obviously he doesn't know how low Kawazin actually is. Flashbang comes out, he's repositioned. That seems to be dead on the money, but Kawazin's already made the move. He's taken out a second one. That's 7 kills now going to be on the board for Empire, potentially 8 if he gets the second flush. Balefrost coming in clutch for his team. And where the hell is Poonage?
Another Molly's going to get thrown. He wants to get LFP now as well. Those flames will spread, but did they go far enough? At this point, though, Faxon is way too far away. Where's Poonage, you ask, by the way? Well, of course he's going to be on the opposite side of the circle, because that is how Empire roll. As that's kill number 8 confirmed. But do you see in Jackie team's position? That is going to be so dangerous now for Bale.
Yeah, especially with Vinny anchoring down to the south, making sure that Liquid aren't going to be able to push. Not like they really want to, given the current circle. I think now it's just going to be a waiting game for them. They're not going to make a move just yet. Balefrost does fall 2 in check as RNZ finishes off the job. It's probably for the best that Poonage was a long way away, because if they were both holding the same spot, they would be out of the game right now.
Yeah, and then Zeki team are trying to get this flush in case one of those mortar strikes might just do it for them, as I believe, was that Liquid, or was that maybe Vinny way off in the distance firing those ones off? But Andrew will confirm that kill. And then there was 17 players left alive. Chunks were in the placement point window, so every team inside the lobbies got themselves a point, and that's the last point that Forever are going to get. A Sam Crow from 55 will wipe them out.
RNZ getting the smokes ready, knows that they're probably going to have to move from under this bridge soon enough. 55, they've closed in on Team Queso Cheddar, by the way, so they're going to be forced into this fight sooner rather than later. Circle, it pulls down to the south, and this is big for Liquid.
Liquid, they've got full control. This is a chance now for them to really move into that top spot. But remember, Team Mira have got a ton of points on the board already. They're still alive, and Fixin might just be able to get his way inside the circle. Looking for solos. You've got a couple of them. Punage on his own. Gaston on his own. Fixin on his own. And Team Queso Cheddar with only 2 players up, but Aki, he's got himself a battle to face. Takes a ton of damage, but Sam Crow will step up, get the knock, and there's now only a solo player left standing for Team Queso Cheddar as well, as everybody's starting to get cleaned up inside of Shipyard.
Tony trying to find an angle with that Mark 12, as I think 55 can just about play the corner of this warehouse, but that is not a position you want to be trapped in. All it takes is one frag grenade and your team is down. Let's not forget now about Stitch, though, from Team Queso Cheddar closing in from the north. 55 starting to make their move. They are now in the circle, but they still have to try and deal with these solos, which is not going to be easy, as Punage preps the nade, throws it out. Is it going to land? It seems so, but not close enough. Punage caught out with the headshot. Down go Team Queso Cheddar, followed by Empire, and we are into the top 5.
And no one shoots like Gaston. No one kills Team Empire like Gaston, as he's able to pick up those points inside of Shipyard. Kurt will land a bolty from the blue up on top of the side of Njeke team. They're in a spot of trouble. Vinny's position will be known now, as he's going to move, and will Sparking be able to lead those bullets the way that he needs to. Moving across the edge, Gaston puts up a shield and he steps inside the tanker, but this should be Sam Crow's point, and it is. And just like that, there's 4 teams left alive, and Mira have still got Fixin left alive.
Tony, nearly gets the knock onto RNZ, but he can't finish off the job. Fakes in, laying prone behind the vehicles, just waiting for one of those 55 esports players to peek out a little bit too wide, but all it takes is one nade and he is done. Zone is closing in, everybody now finally inside of it, and really being cautious about making their moves, not wanting to overexpose, and that's exactly what Sam Crow does. Fakes in, lands the spray, gonna try and flush it out with a nade, and ends up nearly picking up a second.
Yeah, Fakes in 7 kills from Mira. He's got 2 of his own, but Sam Crow is down, and 55 need to deal with him. But there is a backstop. There's a wall behind Fixin that you can use to bounce your utility off of, but they're not able to push that way just yet. Moving up over the ridgeline is Tony. The blue is right at his back, but Sam Crow needs to get rezzed, and needs to get rezzed now. The nade's going to get tossed up on top of that ridgeline, but it bounces just a little bit to the right, and Psycho's one is just bang on the money. And that is the end of Mira. 4v4v3 now. They're going to rush to get the res. They should get it, but this should be Liquid's game to dominate now with the position they have.
Only 3 kills on the board, but there's still plenty more that they can grab out of this. Unfortunately, Alo not able to connect there over onto Tony. The circle has gone hard down towards them. They can use this ridgeline as you see them in a bit of a 2-2. They're still pretty close together, but Luke and Sparkin are going to be anchoring that western side, making sure that InCheck aren't able to close things in. If they can stay on this ridgeline, that's in check, then they could potentially hold Liquid out when the time comes to move, but I think they're just going to have to expose themselves too early.
Yeah, 55 have a UAS that they can use, so they can move at least with a bit of velocity inside this circle, and they have got the longest way to go. And Njeke team are looking to lock this fight in, because maybe they're thinking to themselves the only real points that they might be able to garner in this circle because of Liquid's position might be 55 towards the north as well. But RNZ, he's keeping an eye on the angle. A pile of smoke will begin to spread inside the circle, but Kerak will begin to move. Keep tossing the smokes. Keep moving in, inch by inch, meter by meter. Make your way on in, and let's see if Alo or Kurt can hit the shot, or will 55 manage to get at least some form of footing inside the circle.
It's not even Alo or Kurt that are hitting the shot. It's actually sparking a Luke off in the off angle that were able to find some damage onto 55. It's made them retreat. They are thinking about a reposition, but in check are more than happy with the position that they have chosen as they try to sponge up some kills out of that one. Smokes come down. In check now, going to be forced to make a move, but Liquid putting them under serious pressure down on that southern side. Luke 12 gets an opening headshot over on towards Vinny as Andrew, he decides to deny to zone after taking a lot of damage. 55 Esports starting to flex out. They still need to get across this road. They've got a little bit to work with. The Sparking, he's working with a whole lot of nothing right now. Only a Ridgeline throws out the Molotov. It could just be on the money though. RNC is coming under a lot of pressure over at this tree.
Alo gets a knock onto Sam Crow as well, though, as Team Liquid fight on multiple fronts. They feel the opportunity to win this game is in their hands. The res might be able to be pulled off by 55, but for as things stand, Sparking will fall back. He went for the kill, couldn't get it at that point, realizing that maybe there's a better position to play. Luke still using the rock to get that information, but Chunks 55 are back up to a 4. And now Liquid can really start using all that utility they've been saving all game long. But let's see if we can get a typical Kurt nade thrown up over the rock. It's going to land into RNZ. 56 damage. And now the vehicle should explode in just a few seconds. And Kurt does what Kurt does best. Penta join chat just to see that one specifically. And here's the Sam Crow send. Luke 12 will find one. Sparking finds the other. There's the third. They're falling apart at the seams. There's only one player left standing. And it is Tony off in the distance, Chunks. But Team Liquid dominating this one from on top of the hill.
Huge performance there to take those players out of the vehicle. It's all on to Tony as the final player. Nades landing close. That's going to be the end of things. It's Team Liquid that get themselves a win. They were slow in the early game. They got the position and they struck 9 kills and a chicken dinner. That's 19 points for Team Liquid.
Most kills, most damage, and most assists. It tells you everything you need to know about that Team Liquid performance. Yes, they didn't get the double-digit kills that were so frequent yesterday for the teams at the top, but 19 points nonetheless will put them beautifully up near the top of the leaderboard. But it's all about macro, the decision-making, the positions that they took themselves, and the fights that they elected to take. All those little things led to the victory. And there's that lovely clear from Empire, and then Punage showing that Empire have got plenty more Panzers to go around as they picked up a couple more kills. But Liquid really were the big movers in that game.
Absolutely massive for them. That should give them a significant cushion now. I don't think they are in any fear of going out. Nice little bolty shot there to finish off the job. But yeah, Liquid, they know they're qualified for the top 8. It's just a battle of fighting for prize pool at this point. Remember, that prize pool for this weekend is going to be divvied up between our top 4 teams. So that is what these top squads are fighting for right now, even if they're already locked into the top 8. And still, there is plenty of room for movement. We saw some teams really have strong performances down at the bottom end of the leaderboard, so they should be starting to get into contention for the top 8. As we mentioned, it's only going to take one really strong game from any team in the bottom half, and they should be able to qualify based on the current standings.
Well, that's it. Like, at the same time that these teams are going, oh man, I wish Liquid and 55 and Team Mira would stop getting all the kills and killing us, and at the same time, they're doing you a massive favor as well, because they're doing it to the entire lobby. By them, all the teams in the top 4, top 5 being so dominant, it means that all the teams in the right-hand side, the wrong side of the leaderboard, have got a chance to get into that final 8th spot. I think that Foradores might have just got themselves into safety, into that Players Cup with those kills up to 38 points now. But Forever, who, being realistic, Chunks, with the positions that they have had over the course of this cup, should have so many more than 27 points. They are really in that mix. And I'm looking at like Zanganos, Nordshot, Trabalhadores, Team Queso Cheddar. Any one of those, not even with a win, just with a really good game in this next matchup, the 3rd and penultimate game of the night, could take that 8th spot.
Yeah, they've had a rough weekend so far. They need to start picking it up. Zanganos are the one that really stole the show in that match for me. As a solo, making it into the placement points. Really strong performance, closing that gap now. They are only 10 points away from the top 8, and that is what is on the line right now. Sure, you can qualify, be safe. You can still come back next week and compete for even more of that cash.
Yeah, and next week you got the Cup, but it's all about that Super Cup where the prize pool increases significantly. But we're going to jump into a very quick break because we've got Rondo still to come. When we come back, it will be the penultimate game of the night. We'll see you in a few minutes. The first PUBG Players Cup of the month is almost over. Just 2 games left to go. As I always like to say, it really is blink and you miss it. And for some of these teams, the opportunity to get into that Super Cup, it might just be a blink and you miss it for them because there's only 2 games left to go and not a lot of points available.
No, but a lot of room for movement over on the right-hand side. Again, it's the top teams. They're sponging up all the points. They are making it so hard for anyone else to salvage anything. If you can take down a team like Liquid, like Mirror, like Al-Qudsi, like 55, like Empire, that opens up a lot of space for growth. If you can finish off a squad like that and you're in the bottom end of things, not only are you closing the gap up to the top 8, you're also potentially saving points for the rest of the lobby. So it's going to be a really difficult one to balance. It's hard when you're a team that's maybe qualified through the players' scrims. You're not super confident in this level of lobby to be confident enough to take those fights. But hey, if you don't take the fight, you're never going to win it.
That's it. You know, you got to be confident, but it's about taking the right fight as well. Like, we've seen that all too often, that the teams that might not be at the top side of the leaderboard are a lot of the ways they'll take on fights that maybe they shouldn't. You know, they'll see a gunfight kick off. They're like, yeah, let's push this. Let's get involved. When in reality, sometimes taking an early fight really hampers your opportunity to do well for the rest of the game. I always talk about it. It's like the impact that a hot drop has. Like, even if you win a hot drop internationally, you are fighting behind the sticks, right? You've got a long ways to go. That every single second, every single minute that hot drop carries on, it means that other teams are taking better positions in the circle. Other teams are moving into the spots that you would have rather taken at the end. So I'd like to see some of these teams on the wrong side of the leaderboard be more proactive with their macro play at the start of a game and just focusing on getting into good positions in the circle rather than looting for as long as they do and then getting caught out in rotations or taking on a gunfight that they really might not be good at winning. Like, it's good to see Liquid had been hot dropped on test track yesterday. That hot drop is not happening today. That's a positive. But what's not a positive might be the fact that we could see one of the members of Trabajadoros, I think that's, Trabajadoros, that might lose one here to Alcudia as Jay Reed, the coach, is filling in, by the way, and the coach will get the first knock of the game and the first flush. And I just want to say it. One of the first kills that I ever casted in like game 6 scrims was Jay Reed running over somebody a while ago as well. And if I'm not wrong, Jay Reed's from your part of the English channel.
I believe so, yeah. I'm happy that we finally decided what his name is, because I know there was like a year or two where it was, is it JR Head, is it Jay Reed? So I'll follow your lead at this point.
It's Jay Reed.
Always, I don't care. Whenever I asked him, it was like, I don't care. Yeah, JR Head's fine. And now I find out I was wrong for all those years. But anyway, yeah, Jay Reed, one of those players who has been around the block. I remember him playing, I want to say on, was it Liberate was the team back in the day? I think that's around when I really started getting into casting. So it's good to see him in the lobby. A long time no see. And, well, Alcudia, they're going to see what they can do. Potentially be able to get a kill out of this one. CLT just trying their best to get to safety, but they are not letting up.
Yeah, and Roth is on the hunt. One of those players took a ton of damage, and with Alcudia's position at this point, he's probably laughing. You know, Roth is probably having a great time. He's got Cowboy running on the other side. They're like a pack of wolves or a pack of even collies. Oh no, they're going to go...
The way that they followed them in anyway, I love that from them. Okay, Cowboy does have a gun on his back. Jay Reed is a long way away, just rolling about. Yeah, if Cowboy can make anything happen with this mini, it is done for CLT. But no, he falls into the water right at the time the players try and move away. Roth's got a UMP. He's going to get those 2 kills. That's 3 points on the board already here for Alcudia.
Oh, like, per Trabalhadores, like, you lose 3 early. There's no reason for them to do it other than they're having fun for Team Alcudia. Why did I say Team Queso, by the way? But Zanganos, they'll lose 1 in the early stages as well. They're battling with Mira, not the team that you want to be in the fight with here either in these early stages, as LFP will get that knock onto Sequencia, and Zanganos' opportunities to close that gap onto 8th is getting tougher and tougher.
Kawazine picks up the first kill of the game for Team Mirror. They are going to quickly focus over to the west, I am sure, if they identify that any of those Zanganos players are in that position, especially if JMS tries to take some long-range shots. I'm sure Mirror are going to swarm into it. Speaking of which, Alcudia, they are swarming down into the market to try and find Tormented. I'm not sure whether they know he's in this position. He could cause a real problem here for Cowboy if he manages to keep his head down. He had the Panzer in hand, almost just waiting for Cowboy. Out comes the flashbang, though. He's definitely heard an audio cue, and yeah, he spotted him out as well. Little bit of damage will be found as Tormented opting to switch away from the Panzer, over to the UMP, but Cowboy, he's got that M4. He is making it work, but he still hasn't managed to find the knock.
Yeah, this Hongshun gunfight is still going on, but that Panzer is a problem. You feel like Cowboy needs to get Jay Reed a little bit closer to this position to play for that trade. Jay Reed with 1 kill already. He's got a 100% record of kills inside of games that I've casted in the PUBG Player Tour. He's got an infinite KD as things stand. Funny enough, he's never lost a gunfight that I've casted him on the main PUBG channel here as well. And Roth will get that kill as Alcudia will get the 4 points on the board for them. And that'll do them nicely after the last map.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to be happy about it. Again, though, it's those top teams taking points early on. Team Mirror, Alcudia, both with points on the board early on in the match. As now becomes the question of how do they approach the rest of this? Do they want to keep that momentum going? Do they want to slow it down, focus on getting a good position? Alcudia have spent a lot of time chasing those fights. They need to try and loot up a little bit more before they go center into zone. By the way, test track, dead center. We've already got 6 teams committed to it.
Yeah, it's center of the circle is test track. It's I would say normally that's no surprise, but we've been treated lately. We've not had as many of these as we have had in the past. OMG, they're going to pick up their way in towards test track as well. 55 holding both the north and the south section of the track itself because they know how important it can be. And then looking, a little bit further away, you've got Team Mira playing in the position that Toyo would usually find themselves in a circle like this. A little further south, you've got the rotate in from north as well as they look to find somewhere to play. But the only thing I will say, Chunks, and I think if you've got the map stream, this is a bit more relevant, is the inverse donut effect that I always talk about. And you know what? Let's pick up it later, Chunks. We got a gunfight.
Of course we do. 55, they've fully committed over onto OMG, but it's actually going to be Alo's the first player for the time being to find damage. Can't quite convert it over to a knock. As the nades land up on top of Pains, he's already dropped down, so should be relatively safe. Sam Crow using that third person to peek around the corner. Just a reminder, what we are seeing is what the players are seeing. If they are in first person, so are we. The same goes for third person, so it might give you a better idea of exactly how these fights are unfolding. Furhopper going to throw down a smoke, looking like he wants to try and close the distance, maybe not realizing that Samcro's going to be on that corner, but he just can't connect with the shots in the end. The nade being thrown to nowhere, maybe expecting a player to start flanking.
Yeah, Sam Crow here, formerly of Sam Crismo fame. He's been picked up by 55 Esports as they drop their roster, and he's going to dodge his way inside the building. Exus will move on in. He's got himself up as close to the gate as he can, and Sam Crow will hear the steps are coming. Good nade thrown inside, and Sam Crow will get knocked by Exus. Is the trade there from Psycho? Yes, it is. Steps into his own blue zone nade, and 55 will get their first kill as OMG are down to a 3. Fairhopper, though, will get a fair view of another member of 55 as Kerak's going to get knocked on the way out, and Tony has a Panzer in his pocket, and boy, is he going to try to make it work some magic for them. JO809, he's going to fall, but Sam Crow and a couple more teammates will fall. It's all down to Tony now. He's out in the open, and Payne, well, he just got him met up. Chunks, this has gone so bad for 55.
It could go even worse for OMG if that Panzer lands, but it's too little too late. Pains able to peek out and get the kill. That's 4 on the board for OMG. A very strong position to work out of, but as a duo with so much pressure surrounding you, it is going to be difficult. Empire have also moved into relatively close position. It's Liquid that are kind of their imminent threat right now, playing the high ground. I think things maybe slow down for the time being because a lot of teams are relatively settled in their positions. They are dead center, and that can only mean one thing. We're going to get a hard shift in the one position where we're going to have one team left in. I'm calling this goes towards Foradoras now just because of how many teams are around test track.
Yeah, Foradoras, they've got a good position, but remember that they're in the top 8 if I'm not wrong, so there'll be teams that'll look to hunt them down. Let's be. They might be big movers and shakers as they've got themselves in and around test track as well. JMS from Zanganos, they're on 17 points. They spot out Njeke team, and RNZ is behind the Dacia. Maybe he can find an op, but the smoke will bloom, and that should provide enough corner or enough cover for RNZ to get out of this position. But for Zanganos, losing 2 early on, Chunks, Efesto's already yeeted himself out of the circle now too. They need to get something going and fast as Gaston will find Lorem.
Nice shots to finish the job, but the rest of the real hunters are closing in. Circle getting ready to pop, and we'll see who, if anyone, has to make a move. The real hunters will be able to catch a couple of shots onto Gaston as it moves over to the east. They're not going to have a huge rotation ahead of them, but Gaston is playing as a solo. No support from the rest of his team. Actually managed to take down Tortuga Velos. Nearly gets a second, but Raul lands the nade just in time, and the rest the squad finally starting to fill in. Alan Mack gets a knock onto Raul.
North shot with a nade in the back pocket, throws it, but the angle was pulled off by Alan Mack, and down fall the real hunters. 4 points on the board for North shot as they start playing themselves into contention. A little bit further north, that position, we can see Empire. They've got Liquid for company not too far away, and with that, Tunage will glide his way around, getting that information. You know, that's the one thing that I always talk about. The information on a map like this that you can get with those gliders is invaluable.
Yeah, but he was close to clipping the trees then. That would not have been ideal for him, but he does manage to make it out. We'll be scouting a little bit for Alcudia.
Oh no,
Sorry, for
Beans!
Empire as Payne sets himself on fire. Pops himself the first aid. Should be all right for the time being, but it's all on to Furhopper for now.
Smokes at the ready. Got Payne's a little bit further away, but he's going to send off those smoke grenades to give himself as much cover as possible, peeking through the letterbox window as you hear that ring of gunfire on the end as Let's Be are getting pushed by Nubsky. There's another spray. 9 will get the knock. Slump will eat some damage here too. Stun grenade will get thrown, but will Panadorito get down quick enough for the res? I think Slump might... Oh, that's a good molly. That could be a really good molly. That'll pop. That'll do the damage. You can see Slump erupts into flame as well, and that's brilliant from 9. Picking up a couple of points for Let's Be, as the poor are starting to get some return on investment inside the early game too. This is what you really want going into the final 2 games of the night.
Really messy fight around test track at the moment. Zangados trying to spray onto those long range players, but just not able to. They are down to just a duo right now. Viri getting caught out through the window, not too low. Going to focus on boosting up, wants to get back to full HP, but Bad Kevin, the final player left up from Forever, now trying to defend against Let's Be. The flashbang is big. They spot him out. Miguel gets the kill, and now back onto the Furhopper fight. He's the last one up for OMG.
OMG picked up a couple of kills earlier on as well, but can Fairhopper do it inside the building, inside the smoke? Theros, though, he gets the knock, and OMG are eliminated. 5 kills for Alcudia. Remember, they got 4 earlier on, but now they're battling within Jeke team. Cowboy will manage to jump inside as it's down to Jay Reed, Cowboy, and Roth. 2 players up inside this position. One up above is Roth, but he gets caught out by RNZ, and Vinny will go for the instant flush with that BZ nade.
The first one was close, the second looking even closer, but Roth somehow still up. Well, I was going to say up. He's somehow still in it. He is tanking a lot of damage to that BZ nade. So Alcudia, if they want to get the revive, they need to do it quick, and it isn't looking too likely. Cowboy is going to close in, but the angle is covered. He actually manages to get over to the revive, though. Roth might still be in it as the circle getting ready to pop. We'll find out where it moves. Poonage is all the way out in the blue, standard Empire strategy, and we have sent it up over towards Factory.
Yeah, and this Factory, you've got Cowboy in this position, as our Injeke team in that fight. A little further north, you can see that Empire, let's say it's Zanganos, that are up in that position with Team Queso Cheddar. Keep an eye on what's happening up in that section of the map. Liquid, they're up to the north. They have tons of free space that they can work with right now. They can keep an eye on what's going on. Maybe Empire could push this way. Maybe MDA could cause them some problems as well. But I like the decision from JMS to go for the shotgun. You're close range, you're inside, you can get 2 knocks with 2 shots if you play your cards right. This is the smart play from Zanganos.
Smart play from Liquid here as they manage to thread the needle. I do have to wonder, surely they're going to go for a crash onto something. They just do not have many positions to work with here. It is going to be Empire spotted out inside of the glider. Poonage, that's why he was all the way out in the blue. He was probably refueling. He's calling out the info for his team as they are still over on the northeast. A long way to move for them. But look at this from Zanganos. They are just waiting for a player to peek. JMS does need to be cautious. He's very exposed down to the southeast, but all of those teams in Factory, they're preoccupied. In fact, let's hop on board with it as Alo is the first player to fall. Luke 12 able to trade it out, flushes out Selfish. RNZ, he nearly got the jump on him, but no. Luke 12 gets the kill as Purdy Curdy flushes it out, but Sparkin hit with a big nade by Vinny, the final player left up from in check.
And remember, while all this is going on, Alcudia can capitalize by using the time to maybe make a bit of a play of their own. Nade at the ready from Luke 12. Can he bounce it off the window? He bounces it beautifully, but Vinny managed to jump down off the railing and only take a little bit of damage off the back of that one. Liquid with 3 up. They could potentially get back to sparking, but Let's Be are moving on to this fight as well. They know they need the points, and they need them in these final 2 maps. And HVIT, he's so close, Chunks. You can see his silhouette off in the distance, and if he times this perfectly, he could get himself 2 for the price of 1. But I think he's doing the smart thing, right? Yes, we want to see him push, but holding the position and trying to catch now, it's probably the better play long term. And there you go. He will catch Luke 12 and he gets the flush. And that really puts a thorn into Liquid because now they're fighting against two teams and what originally they thought was one.
Really good trigger discipline from HVIT, and it results in a second knock as he throws down the frag, takes out Spark, and he's now got teammates here to support. Alo's still alive on the other side of the smoke. That Molotov is going to limit the position that he's actually able to work with, though. HVIT tries to jump up high to get himself a bit of an angle. He's going to call it out to his team, spots Purdy Curdy. Now we'll have an idea of where Alo is. Underhand frag grenade comes out, takes down Alo. Nearly gets caught with one in return, but it's nine that takes down Kurd. And Team Liquid down in 11. This is a huge game from Let's Be. 8 kills on the board and into the top 10.
8 kills would nearly double their point tally as well. Like, that's the sort of weekend it's been, and with that, they're getting a little bit closer to maybe getting into that Super Cup in a week's time. Closer to that 8th spot. Punage is 1 HP, and Alan Mack is going to get that kill from Northshot, as that will be Empire losing 1. Wookie Bookie, the target. We've got a couple of coaches playing inside of this matchup as JMS still has the shotgun and Team Queso Cheddar are going complex to complex. They've checked out some of these 2 stories, but he's inside the bungalow. And I think that Team Queso Cheddar can go for the age-old, just throw as many players. He can't get us all in a situation like this. But the circle shift, Chunks, that is a rough one for all these teams on the north.
But look at all the teams that are standing that have an opportunity to make something happen out of this. Sure, we've got Empire, Mirror, and Al-Qudsiyah all still surviving, but none of them are really in positions where they can get super aggressive. Infinite Void punishes Gaston for getting over-aggressive, flushes it out as well. 3 kills on the board now for Adoras as they want to try and group up a little bit. Infinite Void is a long way out the way, is okay, fakes in. He's just going to wipe out Empire with a mortar.
Yeah, love it. Why not? Team Mira just doing what Team Mira does and finding kills. 9 teams left alive now, and you're looking at it. Let's Be on the wrong side of the leaderboard. Northshot the same. MDA as well. It is a case of a lot of teams that are on the wrong side of the leaderboard still alive as we get closer and closer to those placement points. Very and JMS both still alive for Zanganos, and Team Queso Cheddar playing this awfully passively, and I'm not against it. Sometimes you got to do that. Kawazine missing the opportunity to maybe get a kill of his own as MDA are going to go for the crash, but you don't give a player like Kawazine a second chance. He'll get one onto Rhaegar. Shifto will fall as well. The rest of MDA now looking to put in some work, but LFP is there, and Jay Reed, the coach for Al-Qudsiyah, will pick up one of those kills as well, as then there were 8, and those are big nades from Zanganos to Team Queso Cheddar.
JMS down to low HP as Sabato tries to pre-flash, thinking about trying to get the revive, but look at this from Viri with the frag grenade in hand. That could be detrimental to Team Queso Cheddar, but no, somehow not getting caught. The Molotov looks like it might spread as now they are pinned up against the blue. The jammer pack on the back of Aki could be game-changing. Viri taken out, the first of many Zang players to potentially fall. Only going to be JMS left up now, running out in the blue, trying to get over to safety as Team Queso Cheddar. They want to flush this one out, finish off the job, make sure there's no chance of a revive. That's exactly what they do. Zanganos go down in 8th position, only 1 placement point on the board. But look at this from Northshot, 6 kills already.
Yeah, 1 placement point, and I think they got 1 kill, but like you said, Northshot in the top 8, points on the board secured already. Let's Be are doing the same as these 2 teams are making the move, but it's better late than never. The M24 not necessarily hitting the shots they'd want to, but Alan Mack with a QBU will land a couple of big ones onto Theros. Foradores only have Fusquitao left alive, and Nade's going to get tossed off, and that is a great nade from Mick Clanzino. He'll get a knock on Infinite Void, who just got back up onto their feet, and Foradores fall. 9 for Northshot.
Think about the position that Foradoras were in as well. They were the bottom end of the top 8. This now is almost worth double points, the kills that they were just able to salvage. Alan Mack, Smilwar both going down to Team Mirror. Fana putting in work. LFP, he knows where that final player is, tries to throw out the nade. It might be enough to connect, but right now he's just focused on getting the flushes. Fakes in, spots out that final player, trying his best to get away, and somehow manages. Team Mirror, are they taking this position or are they giving chase? They gave chase and they got rewarded for it into the top 5.
Yeah, 9 points for 9 kills, sorry, for Mira, as they have been really putting on the points in this game so far. They're on the south, they've got vehicles, they can crash factory if it continues to go there. But the real question is, what's going to happen inside this section of the circle? You've now got 4 teams in and around Neox factory, and one of them is a solo Vinny for a Njeke team just holding a building by his own.
Jedshot trying his best to cover this angle, trying to spot out anyone from Al-Qudsiyah as it becomes a bit of a slow burn, waiting for that circle to close in. Team Mirror now have themselves a position to work out of, but what is it going to result in? Phase 6 going to pop in 20 seconds. We'll see if it ends up shifting away, whether it will keep factory in. You've got to think that Vinny right now as a solo, by the way, exclamation point map if you haven't already, as a solo is going to be in a pretty good position regardless of the circle shift. But it's not going to be easy with 2 full squads pushing towards you, and that will look good for him. But let's be could potentially cause problems now.
Yeah, look for Mira now making their move in towards the circle. Now as things stand, LFP will try to secure the crate and whatever is inside it if needs be. Or, I think he went for it, saw how open it was, and decided to fall back to the team. But Team Mira now need to move. Let's be, you're going to secure that warehouse on this side of factory, which is where you'd imagine Team Mira will likely make a move into. Al-Qudsiyah are on the other side. They might get pushed by Team Queso Cheddar. But that's, good opening shot by Jedshot. But seeing the full team on that ridge line goes, I don't want to stand out in the open like this. I'm going to dip back into a little bit of hard cover.
Miguel Fox using the third person, trying to gather some info for the rest of his squad. 9 kills on the board right now for Let's Be. An absolutely huge game for them, considering that going into this match, they had only managed to salvage themselves 8 points overall. This could be an absolutely massive performance, as now Team Queso Cheddar closing in, trying to play themselves a ridgeline. It's something, but it's not much. Right now, it's Mirror that are making that aggressive push. They are getting closer and closer to the center of the zone. They are calling in extra cover, but HVRT could cause some problems if he doesn't get third party by the DMR.
Yeah, the DMR can do the damage. Roth with a QBU as well, with one of his own up on top of that ridge line, but looks like he's a little bit focused elsewhere. As things stand, he takes some damage. So as things stand, LFP peeking up to the other side of the ridge line, but Chunks, the real question now is what domino falls first. Vinny, he's got himself the combat. He's still alive. He's kept his nose out of trouble for all this time.
LFP trying to look over the smoke, look over towards Al-Qudsiyah. Not able to find anything just yet. The slow burn in full effect right now. Miguel is going to have to move off of that hill, off of that building. He's going to have to give up some of that high ground sooner or later, but he is holding on to every second that he can, just gathering as much info as possible. I do have to wonder how he's actually going to get down to his teammates. As LFP looking up the hill, trying to find an opening, still not able to.
Yeah, it's just about, as I said, which one of these dominoes will fall first. Team Queso Cheddar, they're playing the ridge on the road as Let's Be. Opportunity for Roth, but he doesn't quite land the shots at this time of asking, so he's going to go prone and reload and go for another. The blue zone forcing Miguel this way, and what a shift that is for Team Mira now. The ball is truly in their side of the court, and with that, they can really wreak havoc. And I think that if Let's Be decide to push this way, you know, they might have to. One big nade, one panzer, one explosive bit of utility with all these Mira players stacked up like this could be huge for the side.
Absolutely. The crate comes in. Not only is it going to provide a little bit of loot, it could potentially be a game changer in terms of providing some cover for a squad like Let's Be. HVIT using the high ground, just trying to find anything onto Mira, even if it's just an arm, just a limb. Any bit of damage that they can find right now could be huge. Roth from Alcudia deciding to send it, finds the headshot. It's Cowboy who gets the opening knock. No, jumps out the vehicle, takes down the second, and Team Queso Cheddar eliminated. Let's Be as a 4-man, just as our Mira. 3 players standing for Alcudia, and only the solo of Vinny from in check, and he peeks up right as I mention him, gets himself an extra kill on the board.
Yeah, and Jackie Team Vinny was so patient, but now he's forced into action. Let's Be 9 kills. They lost Jedshot, but he didn't have a single kill in this map just yet. So the real question for Let's Be now is, with 3 players up, how many more points can you get? This is as good a position as Let's Be have been in all weekend long. Here's the push from Alcudia, pushing up Cowboy with the M249. Not too far away, and Cowboy will start throwing down some deployable cover for the side of Alcudia as well. They've also got the crate, which can also provide some cover, but HVIT, he's got 4 kills, and he almost finds that knock, Chunks, but Cowboy, the smoke has just propagated enough to give him some cover, so now HVIT can focus maybe on Vinny on the other side, but instead, he does a ton of damage on the Kawazine as well.
Vinny letting those smokes bloom before making a move, but that is now like a dinner bell for Let's Be. Miguel gets taken down, and look at this play from Roth. He's holding the edge of the zone, doesn't want to allow Vinny to close in, preps himself a frag grenade. Surely that's going dead center into the smoke. It's just a little bit short. Vinny, he's got the Panzer. This is an all or nothing play right now. Throws down the smoke. Phase 8 has popped. None of these players are going to be inside it. Vinny just laying prone, hoping for the best, almost hoping that Roth gets distracted by Let's Be. The Molotov is close. It catches Vinny. That might just be the end of it. And for Team Mira, they are in such a strong position. If they can find this nade onto Cowboy, it might cause major problems for Alcudia. They do a lot of damage. They can't get the kill, but Kawazine peeks up and finds the headshot.
Yeah, and that's Cowboy down. The young gunner is gone. Jay Reed is under a ton of pressure here as well as he dips back behind the rock. Back into some cover. He'll smoke out Cowboy, maybe thinking he can get the chance to go for the res. The smoke will give him the opportunity to do so, as 9 will find Roth. That's another knock for Let's Be, who are having themselves the game of the tournament for them so far. Roth she'll get flushed. HVIT steals the point off of Mira as well, and this is huge for Let's Be. This is one of the best games that we've seen for one of the newer teams in a while, and they are really picking up some points, and now it's all down to the coach for Alcudia.
The flashbang lands onto Jay Reed. He turns around just in time, tries to focus up, and Gibson, my feed's frozen, you're gonna have to take over.
And that's going to be Jay Reed down. HVIT, it's another point for them. Mira have 10, but that will bring it up to 11. HVIT has got a Panzer at the ready, but he's got barely any HP to work with. HVIT moving round, spots out Fix in the Panzer. The arc just wasn't there, and that's it. It's winner, winner, chicken dinner. Mira will take it. 22 points for them as they rocket right back into the top spot, or at least should do so. But what a game for Let's Be, as they manage to get a ton of points, a second place. They got themselves a double on the board as well. Chunks, what a game though. Team Mira grabbing the lobby the way that only they can do, and managing to pick up a ton of points as well.
Absolutely huge from Let's Be, though. We cannot sing their praises enough. We said any of those teams in the bottom 8 just needed one strong performance, then a mediocre one to follow, and they can make it into the top 8. And, well, Let's Be, they absolutely had a strong one right there. They just need to get a couple more points, and they should be able to make it into the top 8, qualify for that Super Cup, but that's no easy feat. You've seen how difficult it can actually be to get points. I can't help but think that Liquid going down early played no small part in the fact that those teams further down in the leaderboard were able to actually get some points out of that match.
Yeah, and Chunks, I've been speaking to Jay Reid. I sent him a message during that game to find out why he was playing. And I'm going to pose a question to you. And chat are going to love this. What is the best reason you have ever heard for a player not being able to play inside of a lobby?
Okay, so in my experience, in terms of games I've casted, I think it's got to be a power supply blowing up.
Blowing up, right. So the best one I had ever heard in a game was, I believe it was Flood last year, who got disconnected from a PAS game because his Roomba, other automated, Hoover devices are available, knocked his Ethernet cable out of the port. Jay Reid has told me that the reason why D did not play in that last map is because his dog ate his Ethernet port. Not even his Ethernet cable, it ate his Ethernet port. What a good doggo.
Wow, what a good boy indeed. As we wrap up that game, Team Mirror with 22 points, Let's Be with 19. I think that's more than they've got, more than double what they've got in the entire tournament so far. Really impressive performance. And Alcudia, look, they were still able to put up the numbers right there with Jay Reid, 14 taking 3rd place. Let's take a look over at the overall standings and see how that affects things.
Like 6 teams, Chunks, picked up no points in that game. That was massive. But Mira, 99 points. Barring a incredible game from Alcudia or Liquid, they should be on top, picking up most of that prize pool. But look at Let's Be. That game has rocketed them into 9th place. The placement points being the decider, as Forever have been playing brilliant macro, but not been finding the kills to go with it. As are Nordshot. So there's 3 teams, Chunk, now vying for that final qualification spot to the Super Cup via this version of the Players Cup.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult one for Forever and Let's Be now. No points between them. It is coming down to those tiebreakers, so if one team is able to get one more point than the other, it could qualify them. But let's not rule out Nordshot down in 10th place. It's the top 8 that qualify, but it's also equally a fight for that prize pool right now. Only the top 4 get a share of that cash.
Yeah, but for those players, it's not about the cash. It's about getting into that Super Cup in a couple of weeks' time where the cash increases massively. Masters has an even bigger prize pool. Again, that's worth keeping an eye on. I think the next Masters is in about a month time. But Chunks, we're going to jump into a quick break. When we come back, it'll be the final game of the night. We'll see you guys then.
More steps toward unifying your Battlegrounds experience. Destructible terrain on Tago. And a new way to hide your vehicles. All this and more as we dive into the Update 35.2 patch report. First up, we're continuing to work toward unifying your Battlegrounds experience. This update adds vending machines, previously a Miramar exclusive, to Erangel and Tago. You can also keep an eye out for medical vending machines that distribute first aid kits, bandages, and med kits. All these machines still have their chance at a jackpot, so test your luck when you run into one. In addition to this, Erangel is also getting Tago's destructible pots. Breaking these has a chance to give boosts, healing items, throwables, and even secret room keys. So embrace your inner Link and smash away. And speaking of destroying stuff, destructible terrain and the red zone have made their way to Tago. As before, explosives and the Panzerfaust will alter the terrain they hit, adding a bit more realism to that big, cool explosion. We've also added the pickaxe to the map for those who'd rather dig their trench a little more discreetly. For now, destruction on Tago will only affect terrain, so don't worry about the building you're in caving down on top of it. And on the topic of discreetness, you can now find vehicle camo netting on Erangel and Miramar. Deploying the camo netting to your vehicle will help it to blend in with the terrain around it, making it harder for enemies to see while obscuring tire positions. We've also toned down C4 a little by making it a deployable weapon that requires 4 seconds to set. This adds a little more risk to the reward instead of it being used as a nuclear grenade. There's also a new survivor pass, enhancements made to the inflatable boat, some improvements to the flare gun's UX, and lots more info about everything else we talked about. So be sure to check out the patch notes for full details. Update 35.2 is here. So pack your favorite explosives and get ready for a little light terraforming on Tago. Just make sure you hide your getaway vehicle from the other survivors. We'll see you on the battlegrounds.
Well, the blink and you miss it moment is almost there. We're coming on to the final game of the night where we will crown a third different champion on the main channel on the same day, Chunks. We have had BB Team win the big one this morning as they were able to win PGS. We had a winner inside of EMEA's Cup a little earlier on, and now we're about to crown a winner in the Americas as well. And at this moment in time, it does look like it's going to be Mira.
Yeah, what a day for PUBG Esports. It's been an exciting one. It's been a fun weekend all in all, and it does not stop. The rest of the year is packed up with the Players Tour, so make sure you are tuning into all of it. And make sure you take part with ! Register just before we hop into our final game of the evening, because anyone can take part. You can qualify to make it into the Players Cup and maybe even into the Super Cup. You've seen it only takes one really strong performance, and you can be fighting your way into the top 8, and that's what we saw from Let's Be. I do have to wonder though, Gibson, you know, out of all the excuses we've heard for wanting to get out of the games early and take an early night, dog ate my computer. That is a new one.
No, I didn't need the computer at his Ethernet port.
On his computer?
Port. On the wall.
Oh.
On the wall?
Oh, I thought you meant on the back of his computer. Okay.
I don't know. Like, we'll see. You know, as I said, chat, do we believe him?
I want to see pictures, or I don't believe it.
Yeah, maybe that's a poll that Zenny could put up there. You know what I mean? Maybe one of the mods could. Maybe one of the mods could put up an "Is it true?" Or do no, maybe even just a "Do."
Your job for this game is to try and get a photo of that, and then we can verify.
I don't think that I'm going to get a photo. I'm not going to lie. I genuinely don't believe it.
Any excuse to bottle it early, unfortunate. But look at that. Furhopper, he's not bottling it. MHP taken down early on. And Liquid, they're actually getting hot dropped over in Pachinki.
Okay. Like, why are we hot dropping Liquid in Pachinki in this event? You know what? Liquid might say thank you very much. It could be points to them, or maybe there could be a turning of the tides. Now, keep an eye on it, because remember, every single point matters for the teams on the wrong half of the leaderboard, trying to get inside the top 8. OMG will lose one very early on, as Fairhopper is down on his luck and out. And the hot drop, Sparking, instantly knocked and flushed it, so Trabalhadores will get the first kill, and that's bound to be annoying if you're Team Liquid.
Yeah, that is a rough way to start out. But Liquid, look, they are qualified into the top 8 at least. You know, you're going out with a bang. Purdy Curdy gets himself the shotgun kill. Will need to try and defend against a second. He's only on 5 HP. Trying to pop that first aid kit. It is going to be difficult to make it out of this one.
But it's a shotgun. That thing goes crazy. And pushing up those stairs without a POV, like at the end of the day, Magnikov is going to know that Kurt's here, but he needs a stun grenade or something that will allow him to push, or even it could be Kurt over peaking at this point. If I was Kurt, I would pop a window behind you, maybe give it away. Why not? Throw a machete, take that wall right behind Magnikov, but it's a shotgun against an Uzi. The shotgun will win if Kurt can land that one shot, especially with Magnikov having no helmet. But look at this. Druida on the other side of the road. Great teammate play coming on in, and Liquid lose another.
Liquid having a rough time in our final game. What is it with Liquid and being hot drops in the last game of the series? We saw it in the Super Cup. We're now seeing the same thing happen again here in the Players Cup. Luke 12 looting up, going to try and make something happen, but him and Alo are so far away from each other, and Luke still needs to clear out this building.
Yeah, Luke is clearing building one by one. Magnikov, as you said, is down on the other side, but you can see Druid. Oh, nice headshot. And Luke 12, he is going to slam him from the other side of the map, and now he'll look to torment the final player. S12K is no match for Luke 12 and an M4, as Team Liquid will wipe out Trabalhadores, and just like that, it's a couple more points, but they've got to get another fight for Adores. They have pushed into Pachinki now as well. Center of the circle as things stand. And maybe they think they can properly secure their top 8 if they can get a couple of points on the board here as well.
Yeah, this is big for Foradoras if they manage to come out on top of it. They do have a 2-player advantage, which would be absolutely huge. And the question is, have Liquid heard the vehicles moving in? Honestly, I highly doubt it. They've been on foot for the majority of the journey. And whoever comes out on top of this, they are going to have full priority in terms of zone rotations. I do have to wonder, would they hold on to Pachinki? When you rotate a little bit later and you are dead center of the circle, you've got to expect teams to be nearby. And let's not forget right now, do exclamation point map in chat, because Alcurtia, they're calling in an E-pickup that is going to go right over the top of Pachinki.
Yes, and that E-pickup, I'm really curious as to where Alcurtia will go with it. Timing is very early. At the end of the day, they're not going to get in there as the circle does. They've just decided they want to get involved in what is happening inside that section of the map. As we saw, Team Liquid did get out of Pachinki. They've grabbed themselves, I believe, that a Smurf compound. That could be their position to play. But the question is, Chunks, do they go Pachinki or do Alcurtia have something else in mind?
I want to see it. I want to see it happen. Grief them. Obviously, Alcurtia, they're well aware of what's happened in the kill feed. They're a team that are taking notes as the game goes on. They've got an IGL like Roth, who is, you know, extremely competent and very experienced. I remember him all the way back in, I think it was NPLC. I think at first he went through Contenders Series to be able to qualify back on Zenith, so he knows what he's doing. If he knows that Liquid are weakened, he is going to try and exploit that to the best of his ability and try and finish them off early.
You'll keep an eye on it though to see where they go. Looks like Fexen's just going around skinning vehicle from vehicle. Why not put a little bit more value in the lobby? And Kawazin's like, yeah, I want to drive that. I want a bit of that action. As Luke 12 can't quite afford the same vehicle. He'll just be using a regular old UAZ to move in, and Alcurtia still on the plane as we get closer and closer to destination Pachinki. Chunks, if they're going to drop, they're going to have to do it now, and it looks like they have. No, they haven't. They're going all the way to Gatka. Are they just going to go all the way to the opposite side of the map?
Seems like it. That's a shame. I was really hoping we would have seen that, but unfortunately not going to be the case. As Alcurtia heading over towards Gatka, maybe over towards the Chopstick compound. I think Gatka is a bold play to make, the sheer distance and being out on the very edge of the zone. It's questionable, but I guess it's a lot easier to rotate through. They have finally dropped out. It looks like maybe they're going to go for a bit of a split, but Rello is heading straight towards that compound near Ruins, which it appears that Empire are also playing towards.
Could be going for the, you know, there's a UAZ that spawns in and around there as well. He could be going to pick that one up for the team, as he will drop on board. Jay Reed, he's going to land in Gatka like we expected. Should be able to find a Dacia there of his own as well. So I think this mad dash from one side of the map to the other has actually gotten them vehicles. It's gotten them into the circle. And I'm going to be bold here. I'm going to say another reason that they made this drop is because of the flight path and because of the drops that they know all the teams are going for. They've realized that the west side of the circle is going to be a little bit lower traffic than the east, and that's why they've gone for it. Or I could just be talking complete doo-doo, and they could have just done it for the fun of it.
Rello in a bit of a tricky position. If Balefrost was to jump on it, doesn't appear to be the case. He is going to move away, but Balefrost, he's got that AWM, and all it's going to take is one shot, and Rello is down. He will be able to get over to safety for the time being, as Empire taking that area just to the south of Boatyard. Looks like they're going to continue moving in to that compound we have seen used so much in these circles. Let's be, they need a big game in this match, but it is going to be difficult, because in Czech, a post throws it up. Panzer lands, does a lot of damage. Vinny gets the opening knock. 9 is followed up, eliminated as well. RNZ throws out the flashbang. He doesn't notice it. Jet shot runs straight past him. 3 kills on the board now, 4 in check, and let's be not looking good for them.
Fella, you can't roll up the stairs and not spot out that player. Like, the only thing I can think of is he was so focused on going up the stairs that his brain just didn't register that there was somebody on the stairs. He didn't expect someone to be there, therefore he just played that like there wasn't. You lose that one. Oh no, you've just given your team a nightmare of an ask now to try qualify. That really gives Northshot a lot of momentum going into this one. It puts them in a great position for forever as well. You know that one of the teams in the hunt are in a much better position, and if you're wondering where forever are right now, they're very close to Northshot as Gaston will look up towards Bad Kev.
Let's not forget though, Miguel, he has a shack. We've seen what can happen out of those shacks as, oh no, 55 facing some trouble on the crash. Vinny able to take down Tony, is in check, looking to try and defend this compound yet again. Sam Crow knocked by his own teammate's vehicle. Looks like Psycho going to be sticking the res.
Yeah, Psycho will stick the res. You've still got Sam Crow down on the other side, though. They'll probably go to get that res next, as in Jackie team are playing super passive. Good BZ need. That should be bang enough damage, and it is, so Sam Crow will get eliminated. 3 versus 3 now in this fight. You've still got Overwatch from Kerak, who's trying to keep them in the positions away from the windows. That funnels the areas that they can play. RNZ tries to pull a rabbit out of the hat twice, but this time the disappearing act is a disappearance from the lobby and not a disappearance from a player's POV, and that is Injeka team down and out. They fall in 15th place, and 55 pick up the kills.
55, 4 kill points on the board now as the circle is centered up over towards Pachinki. 4 Adoras have made a move out, just like Liquid have. Luke 12, 1 more bullet will finish off the job. Down goes Cali. Team Queso Cheddar losing a player. No chance of getting the revive on that one, but look at this Empire. They've actually got themselves a knock over onto Fuscatao, flushed it out as well. Alo trying his best to third body, but he just can't find an angle.
Yeah, so many players just pushing in and around Pachinki now as things stand. Al-Qudsi as Cowboy will move from the north to the south. Liquid with 2 players up and 5 kills. They've got themselves back towards Pachinki once more as they're going to play on that Pachinki farm, which gives them lovely lines of sight elsewhere around the map. 4 Adores from inside of Pachinki itself will get a knock onto Empire and Northshot. Remember, they need points. He's pushing up on Roth. Is Roth going to call the cavalry in? I think he is. The stun grenade is going to get thrown. He's going to chase Gaston up the stairs. Gaston, if you cannot win the fight, just get a point. Just get a knock and an instant flush, but Al-Qudsi will try to not give him the chance.
Roth going to be playing point on this one. Runs through the smoke, clearing out. Not sure whether it's the back room or the roof, as now Balefrost finally gets himself a knock with that AWM. Shimboy follows it up with a second. It's all onto Gaston, throwing out a smoke wall, thinking he is going to have to make an escape sooner rather than later. His teammates nowhere to be found right now, doing what they can at long range. As now Roth, Cowboy both drop down. Drop shot comes in from Gascon. He can't get the flush though. He's knocked out. Roth throws down the smoke, focuses the flush. First kill of the game for Al-Qudsi, and they should be able to revive.
And the rest of Northshot are nowhere to be seen. They're playing inside of Pachinki Church, and that will be a free res onto Al-Qudsi, and that's a player down, which reduces your opportunity to pick up points significantly. Forever on the south side of Poch, all by themselves on Poch Hill, they are looking to just continue doing what they've done all weekend long. Get inside the placement points. They've not got a lot of kills. Is it 9 chunks in total that they have all together? But they've got 18 placements, and that's why they're in that 8th spot as things stand.
I can't help but notice this E-pickup being used by MDA right now. I wonder what they're opting to do. It looks like they're actually going to drop down onto Team Queso Cheddar, who are happy to try and land those kills. Unfortunately, they're just not able to connect with the spray, so all players have been able to land. Queso Cheddar have the bunkers, the trenches to work with, but they don't have a great line of sight looking over this hill. It looks like the opposing team have been able to back away. They are dead center as things currently stand, but that shift is about to come in, and if I've learned anything from the Players Tour, it is going to be a difficult one, and that's exactly what it is. Moves over to the west, Pachinki still in. Who is going to commit to it, Gibson?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think anybody who's not in there should really be committing, because as things stand, like, you look at the positions that are free. The trenches south of the Potch Farm is currently free. The trails is completely free as well. And we see that Forever... You know what? I think that the way Forever play, I was going to say nobody would. Then I remembered they play for placements, right? That's what they do. Get into Pachinki. You're going to get yourself a lot of points on the board, placement-wise, if you can just stay in there and the zone keeps popping that way.
Nade comes out from Sabato. It's right on the money. Ray goes down. Could potentially spell the end for him, as the second one also connects. Will be getting flushed out. Aki trying to get a little bit more proactive. Knows roughly where these players will be. Maybe not expecting them to have already moved down behind the hill. But Team Queso Cheddar, they are going to be in a position where they have to try and gatekeep. OMG are also moving in over from the east. We could potentially see them catching MDA off guard.
Yeah, and this could be a big opportunity. There's the knock that's going to happen on the Pains. J0809 is a little further back, but remember, you've got 3 teams in this section of the map. MDA looking to pick up a couple more points of their own. J0809 is closing the gap. He spots out one. Stitch is going to get stitched up here as he keeps it around the corner. As J0809... He's there. He's completely lost track of Aki. Aki gets the knock, and Sabato will go for that instant flush. Another opportunity lost for a team just losing complete sight of a player.
What is going on this evening? That's the second time we've seen that. So unfortunate, but hey, it works out well if you're still standing. Richiuk just holding that rock, trying to find some angles onto those OMG players, but they are far down the hillside. Team Queso Cheddar a little bit slower with it right now, knowing that they're the team in gatekeeping position as they finish up Zeus. That will be OMG down in 13th position.
Yeah, 12 teams left alive. Now, a couple of teams that are still in the hunt for the top 8 are still alive. And remember, Zanganos, they're not a million miles out of this as well. They've still got players up. Let's Be Miguel Fox, I think, is the only player left standing for them, and he's sent it into Pachinki as well. This could come down to who outlives who. So if Forever go down and Let's Be just manage to live a little bit longer than them, they will qualify for that next Super Cup. But up on top of Potato Hill, this Team Queso Cheddar fight is going to happen once more. Riddy UK with the stun grenade, throws it up over the shoulder, but Chunks, he's got no lethals, and what a shift that is.
What a shift indeed. Really trying his best to remain in the fight, but it's not to be. It's all down to his teammate holding on his own at the rock, and Team Queso Cheddar, they're throwing out the flashbangs. They are ready to push this. Flush is confirmed by Aki. That's 5 kills on the board for Team Queso Cheddar, so this could be a very big game for them to potentially qualify them into the top 8. Flashbang is timed perfectly, but he ends up catching himself. Hipfire finishes off the job. MDA down in 12th, and Team Queso Cheddar 6 kills on the board with not the end of the world rotate ahead of them. They do have Liquid rotating over to their west, but again, that team is weakened. They're only a 2-man. If you can isolate those fights, you might just be able to make it through.
How often do you see the team that's playing on Potato Hill just sending it in towards that package, that plug-in socket compound, and those buildings that are being held by JMS? Remember, the Zanganos are not out of this. They can still qualify, but Team Queso Cheese, they're going to get caught out. Alo almost finding the knock. Let's see if Luke 12 on the other angle can finish off what was started. Another couple of shots landed, this time onto Aki. Stitch out in the open. You don't want to play this dance with Luke 12, Stitch. And on the picture-in-picture, here is the Forever move in the south side of the circle as well, the Pachinki side.
Alo doing his best to gatekeep. Luke has already managed to get himself a knock onto Sabato. Can Alo follow that pattern? Luke seems to have a read on where Stitch is going to be, but they just can't find the shots. On the other side of things, Alcudzi are hopping in their vehicles, trying to move away from 55 Esports. They need to be careful because there's still going to be a player lingering around. 5 kills on the board now for Team Liquid. A very strong performance considering they've only got 2 players left, but they need to clean up this fight if they want to have an opportunity to make it into the zone safely.
Yeah, Alo tosses the nade and hits his belly to the ground to make sure that he does not get knocked, as Stitch still won't reveal himself properly to Luke, who just wants that extra kill. 620 damage dealt by Luke so far in this game. You can see the blue zone having an impact now. Aki has no meds whatsoever, so I think he is going to go down, as does Stitch. Both players are out. Team Queso Cheddar eliminated, falling in 11th place. But Chunks, still we have 4 teams hunting that 8th spot. All 4 still alive, and the placement points are just 2 teams falling away.
Kevin gonna try and pick up some kill points for Forever, as Shot still with a donut. As we get into those placement point territories, you've got to have a look at what teams are remaining, and there is plenty of rooms for teams to get placement points. It's going to be made a whole lot more difficult now, though, with that kind of shift going up to the north. This is that position that we've seen be so fruitful for teams that take it early on. I don't think anyone would have expected it to move away from Pachinki based on the last couple of shifts.
No, and I just looked, 55. They were getting shot up by Alcudsia, by Mira. Those 2 teams will share the points as Alcudsia now make their way towards Mini Potch up on the top. And let's be, that's a point on the board for Miguel Fox. And that point right there, I believe, puts them into 8th place. They now hold the keys, but it's only 1 player standing. Forever, they now know that the team ahead of them is just behind them inside the circle, and they all need to flee Pachinki. And that crash that I spoke about earlier, Team Liquid coming down the hill. They'll push up. They'll probably move into where Zanganos are playing. And Zanganos, can they hold this push? Or maybe they just play the edge of the circle too. They play the dips up here to the north. That's not a bad play for Team Liquid either, just getting into this position that we see them moving into right now.
Yeah, really strong spot. Nobody seems to be contesting right now. I imagine Alcudsia will potentially try and move for a similar position, though, and that seems to be the case. There are a couple of ridges that are playable inside of this circle, and I would imagine they may be trying to stop at this one to avoid overexposing themselves. They haven't got any info on what's going on the east, but they have now. Miguel Fox, he's gone down just outside the placement points, so that is 1 extra point now being gained by every player who survives, so this could be detrimental to Let's Be.
Well, that's Forever back into 8th place now, but that stands. Nord shot her down, and that nade, that should secure them into the top 8. Now Zanganos have to be aggressive. They're the only team that can catch Forever realistically as things stand, and Forever are on the move. They need to fall next if Zanganos are going to have any chance of success. And do Forever push towards Empire. Shots coming in, and now they're going to send it towards Shinboy. Shinboy gets 1. There's going to be a crash. Shinboy is going to get flattened because Kevin crashed into the UAZ. The UAZ flattened Shinboy, and it's more points on the board for Forever. More increasing of the gap towards that 8th place. This is huge for them.
Absolutely massive as Luke 12 hits the spray, takes down 2 from Alcudsia, finishes off the job. That's Alcudsia out in 6th position. And look at this. Team Liquid now on 8 kills, making it into the top 5. This might just be their game, but still, they have Mirror to try and navigate, and they are only a 2-man.
And that is more points on the board. The zone shifts towards Zanganos once more, as they really do have a powerful position in the circle. Remember, 10 points for a win, but they need more than that. Forever falling, that's 1 more point to Zanganos, but do they have enough points available to catch Forever? You've got 4 kills for Mira. That's an extra placement point as well if you pick that one up. You have 2 points if you wipe out Team Liquid, and you get 1 point if you wipe out Empire. I think they need every single kill. They really need every kill going, Chunks, if they want to take that 8th spot.
They absolutely do, but it is going to be so difficult to try and gather when you look at the teams that are still standing. Liquid, they've got a difficult move to make ahead of them right now. They have to open themselves up to Zanganos, and hey, they're going to be more than happy to try and get some kills out of it. Liquid, they're committing into the vehicle. They're going to try and send it, but where do they crash onto this?
The buildings to the south. You have to go to that garage in those buildings to the south. It's the safest crash. It's the safest move. And that's exactly what they're going to do. And in doing so, that now focuses Zangano's attention this way. That buys Mira some time to push this direction, as that's exactly what happens. Sequencia tried to just cut off Team Liquid, and he's going to get held by Mira on the other side. Look at Beal, by the way. Beal's living his best life for Empire. He's on the south side of the circle, all by himself. But Mira are flexing this way.
Mira looking to try and spread out. They've got one player in the form of Fana holding the compound, but it almost looks like the rest of the squad, they aren't happy with it. They want to be in a bit more of a proactive position where they can find those sight lines. Team Liquid, though, they are happy. They've even been able to make it in. Luke 12 trying his best to find an angle onto those Zang players, but they are just being careful not to expose themselves here. It is a slow burn in this circle, but Mira, they are getting so proactive, and they are going to play this ridge for everything it's worth.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. But Zanganos, I think at some point they need to be the ones to find these kills, because if one player falls, that's not at their hands. That could be the difference between qualification and not. Up on top of the hill is Beal. He's got himself a P90. He's got himself a shield. But Team Mira will know that this is a solo player all by themselves, and that's why they're so focused. They want the extra points. They want to guarantee the win. Beal Frost takes a ton of damage, but he manages to get to the tree.
Fakeson just fully committed onto this now, wants every kill point possible. 4 kills for Mira. This is terrible by their standards. They want to get into the double digits, and they are certainly not going to be able to, but they're going to get as close as they possibly can. They want to sponge up every remaining point in this lobby. The circle, it shifts down their way, so they might have to shift their attention soon, as Team Liquid and Zanganos are both going to look to try and make a move.
Yeah, that shift works against the two teams inside of Package, inside of DMB, inside of Plug and Socket, whichever name you elect to use for it. It doesn't really matter anymore because it shifts away. Wait, is that double crate weapons, by the way, for Beal?
I think
He's
so,
a P90 and an arm. Why not? Yeah, okay, just give Beal all the guns.
Just imagine what he might be able to do as we'll hop over to that replay of that amazing Luke 12 play earlier. Absolutely insane to be able to eliminate Al Kudzia in such a short time frame. But for the time being, it is just slow and steady wins the race. Balefrost doing everything he can to try and get himself a knock, but he's under so much pressure. Only the smoke and the tree left for cover. He's already had his shield completely shredded apart. Kawazine just waiting as the rest of Mira wanting Zanganos or Liquid to start exposing themselves.
Luke 12 is 958 damage. He wants to make that 1,000, and Zanganos might just be the team that does it. Remember, they still have a chance of qualifying through from this week. If they don't, they can run it back next week, but you want to do it now. You want to take away any element of doubt whatsoever, but the Phase 7 blue, it is closing on this compound as we speak. It's going to force them into the open. If you push out through the wrong gap, Alo will be there. Alo will be waiting. Alo will be ready. He hits the first shot, and JMS will step into the blue. The jammer pack gets him ready. But Chunks, this could be it. Like, this could be the tournament over for Zanganos right now if Alo can just play the patience game.
Looks like that's exactly what he's going to do. He does go down to the zone in the end, but Luke 12 and Alo working together to flush things out. 9 kills on the side of Team Liquid and Zanganos. Things are looking Very grim for them right now. They are probably not going to be able to make it into the top 8, but there is still a big question mark on who exactly will. And wow, Bale with a huge AWM shot to take down Alo. Looking over at Luke 12's position, he could switch back to the Orm, but he only has 1 bullet left to work with, completely pinned down by Team Mirror. He will fall. Zanganos down in 3rd. It is a 1 versus 4. Fakesing getting aggressive as Luke 12 trying his best to stick the res, but Kawazina's wrapped wide. LFP is covering. They know that the revive is going to come out, and they know exactly where these players are. Alo denying the points to zone. Luke 12 to follow suit, and it's Team Mirror with another chicken dinner. Only 6 kills this time, but in such a difficult zone, they were able to get an amazing performance out of it.
Yeah, those 16 points will put Team Mirror up onto 115 as Kawazine and the rest of the team will put in tons of great work as well. Remember, this is the team that I think has shown they've got the highest ceiling of all of those kind of newer teams that people might not be as well known. Like, I've known Kawazine and Fake and those guys for a long time, but seeing the improvements they're making is so impressive. Another Players Cup victory in the bag for them as they secure that win. But Chunks, they just played this. They played tonight with that element of joie de vivre, that element of freedom where they could kind of do what they wanted, and that's when they're at their best. Whenever they are just chasing kills, taking ground, playing aggressively, that's when this team is 100% at their best.
Yeah, Mirror one of those squads where once they have a good day 1 performance and they kind of lock themselves into the top 8, they just kind of freeball it and they pop off onto another level. And it's been amazing to see. I think in terms of the Americas Players Cup at the very least, sorry, the Players Tour in general, they currently have the highest kill win in the entire event. And let's hope that we see more of that. They've qualified for the Super Cup. Now it's just going to be a question of how that final leaderboard stacks up, not only around the top 8, but also to see who's going to be able to make it to the top 4 to get a share of that prize pool.
Yeah, getting into that prize pool, that's kind of a nice one as well. I think that Al-Qudsiyah will certainly be in the mix. Team Liquid, I think, just about securing that as well, as I believe they are. Look, Alo, he played the patience game. He knew that at some point that play had to be made. That's a beautiful shot from Bale onto Alo, and Alo, he was just like, yeah, I'm done with it. Here's a molly. Good night, sweet prince. Mira, you can take the chicken dinner to win the night. And here is your map placement points. 16 for Mira, 15 for Liquid, 11 for Empire. But those 5 points for Forever, they were the difference, because look at it, Northshot could only find 1. Let's Be were the same, and all they had to do was outscore both of those sides.
Yeah, and it was such a difficult game. When you get a circle like that, so many squads committed over to Pachinki and then ended up having to make themselves a move. It was so difficult, but we got to take a look at the overall standing to see not only who has qualified, but also who has taken home a share of the prize pool. And it was close for qualification, 4 points between 8th and 9th, but unfortunately, Let's Be, they just lost too many players early on.
Yeah, that was it. Like, Let's Be, they lost 3 in the early stages of that game, and that really unfortunate crash that happened, I think that was with 55, right? Well, maybe I'm wrong at that point, but it didn't really work out the way that they would have wanted it to. They get the big win, and I think for the other teams, it was a really good showing, right? I think it's probably the biggest disparity we've seen from the top few teams in the rest of the lobby that we've had in quite some time inside the Players Cup. But for the newer teams, you know, Meda Amciedad, the Real Hunters, for Trabajadores and Team Queso Cheddar, Zanganos, Northshot, Let's Be, it's great to see you qualify. It's great to see you show us what you can do. Hopefully, inside of Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in the scrims, you can run it back and qualify for next week's games as well. And just continue to improve and get better.
So we've got our top 8 teams locked in, and while we have a moment, just remember that you could potentially be taking part in not only the Players Cup but also the Super Cup. Make sure you do !register in chat to get signed up, and we might just be talking about you qualifying next week. What an amazing set of games. It was so hotly contested around that top 8 spot, and it was really the top 4 going into today that were locked in already. When we take a look at the prize pool, it's Mirror that takes take the lion's share, but split up between Mirror, Liquid, Alcudia, and InCheck. Beautiful performances all around. Unfortunate for those teams that narrowly missed out, but honestly, consistency is key. When you have those strong games in these shorter formats, they count for a lot.
Yeah, and remember that prize pool is just a drop in the ocean for what the overall prize pool is over the course of the year. $139,000 up for grabs in third-person perspective this year in the Americas and in Europe as well. So if you're from either of those regions, make sure to sign up and try to get your piece. But look at that, total kills, 69 for Mira, nice, 1200 damage, and the highest average survival time. When you top all three of those, you 100% deserve to be the top team in the lobby.
Absolutely. We'll have a look over at the individual stats in a second, but I think one thing I've noticed with Team Mirror is they all get up there. So sure, they have amazing individual stats. Look at this. 3 players in the top total kills. The same for KDA. Total damage, 2 players in there. They were just putting in work, not only yesterday, but also today. Absolutely deserve the opportunity to qualify. I'm sad to see them qualify because a lot of the time when teams qualify, they don't play in the next Players Cup, but I'm sure that we will be seeing them again soon.
You never know. I wouldn't be surprised if they're playing next weekend because they did last time, right? The last time they qualified for the Super Cup. So don't be surprised to see them again. Shout out to 55 as well. They made the tough decision to drop their roster going into this week and picked up the Typhon roster. And as you can see, some of those players are in there in the mix as well in those top 5 stats. So that's good to see Psycho having himself a really good weekend. But Chunks, that brings us to the end of another cup. There is going to be, as you said, qualifiers on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday next week. You don't need to play in them all. There's just 3 maps every single night. ! Register to do so, and you can get a chance to play in that next cup. But Chunks, anything to say to wrap up the night?
I just want to see Mirror have another massive week next week if they decide to come back, because we saw them qualify in week number 1 last time, and then it was week number 2 where they absolutely stole the show. And I also hope that maybe we can see some of our PGS teams back next week.
Next week might be a bit of a stretch.
But we can hope.
Yeah, Falcons, they need to get on that plane straight away to get back in to the PUBG Players Cups. But folks, just want to say thank you all for watching. Massive congratulations to Mira for winning today. Congratulations to your victors in EMEA. And I think EMEA were the big winners overall today, because shout out to BB. They went out, they conquered PGS 8, they got the win with all the adversity that team has been through over the course of the last 2 years. Couldn't be happier for them. So congrats to BB team, congrats to Mira, congrats to your victors in the EMEA region for the Players Cup as well. And until next time, make sure you play more PUBG in the words of Toffees, and we'll see you all. Take care.